mornings from 11 to 1. It's time to get up and get your day started. Morant. It's Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Now, here are your hosts, Greg and Eli.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Sports 56 Mornings on this Election Day Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seekers. We're broadcasting live and in color from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure is where family and fun come together. They got the Ultimate Game Room sale going on right now. You can complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, shuffleboard, arcade game. It's also the perfect fire pit weather. All fire pits 20 to 30% off. They still have great deals on spas. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Well, get ready for the rain. 69 degrees currently. Right now it's cloudy. Again, little peaks of the sun this morning, but thunderstorms will be developing this afternoon with a high of 78. Winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. Chance of rain at 80%, and locally heavy rainfall is possible. Then thunderstorms this evening. Cloudy with rain likely overnight with a low of 64. The chance of rain tonight is 100%. So we're getting precipitation. Tomorrow looks like there'll be some rain as well before the system gets out of the area for Thursday. Then more rain possibly Friday and into the weekend, but always subject to change. So if you did your early voting, you're fine. If you are voting today, you may have to bring an umbrella or a raincoat if you're standing in line to do your public and civic duty. We got a busy show coming up today for you. Connor O'Gara joins us at 7:25. Tonight, the first college football playoff rankings will come out. We'll talk to Connor about that. We'll also talk about some of the big games coming up this weekend, including Georgia and Ole Miss. And speaking of Georgia and Ole Miss, at 8:05, David Johnson will join us from 247 Sports. He covers Ole Miss. We'll get his thoughts on the big showdown at Vaught-Hemingway in Oxford. At 8:25, Tim Duncan, the Senior Deputy Athletics Director for the University of Memphis, will get his thoughts on last night's season opener as Memphis knocked off Missouri in come-from-behind fashion. We will discuss that to start the show in just a moment. The departure of Tyreek Smith just hours before they tipped off. The Grizzlies fall to the Nets and get swept for their season series as they lose to Brooklyn 106-104 despite a huge game for the rookie Zach Edey. We'll talk about that. We'll go around the country as far as college basketball is concerned, look at some of the local teams, some of the regional teams in their first day of action. Also, Memphis women getting a win in their opening game. And then the 9th week of the NFL season wrapped up last night with the Kansas City Chiefs winning in overtime as they remain the only undefeated team in the National Football League. If you're a fan of the Cardinals, they'll be coming to town to face the Redbirds. We'll give you those particulars as well. And we got Humdinger's Trivia coming your way. That'll be at about 8:05, right before we are joined by David Johnson. We'll take your calls and texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. That's your lineup for today's show. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tonight we will find out whether people prefer Coke or Pepsi. So looking forward to that. I always despised the election when I was in television because they would say, Greg, put a sportscast together. And I would always say, we're not going to go to sports. You're not going to put me on. I mean, this was annually, every November, whether it was a presidential election or not, there's going to be state and there's going to be local elections. So you're not going to use me. You're not going to put me on. No. Put together a sportscast. All right. Never once. So tonight, you'll be inundated with that, but also the selection committee. Week number 1. I'll be really curious to hear what Connor O'Gara has to say about that, and that'll be coming up in about 20 minutes. But the college basketball season underway, and the University of Memphis, nearly a carbon copy of what happened last year on the road in Columbia, Missouri, when they struggled in the first half and then put it into a new gear in the second half and ended up winning by 15 against Missouri. Last night, venue changes. FedEx Forum in Memphis The Tigers struggle, trailed by 10 at the half. At one point, trailed by 14. They come back and they win by 8, 83-75, with an intense second half, a smothering defense. They forced turnovers. They made it really tough for Missouri, and Memphis made enough three-point shots. They got enough good inside play from Moussa Cisse and Dane Danger to offset the loss of Tyreek Smith, and they win the game 83-75.
Yeah, it was that's the second half. Certainly, a lot of credit goes to just what they did on the defensive end. In the first half, Missouri was just getting a lot of easy buckets. They were beating them down the court, getting layups. And in the second half, they just weren't able to do that. The Tigers extended the defense out full court. The pressure certainly bothered Mizzou. Just in the half court, they've made it really, really difficult on Missouri to find any open shots. A lot of late shot clock situations where they had to force stuff up. And then on the offensive end, P.J. Haggerty did what he does in that second half. He goes to the rim. Like when he attacks the rim, he tends to score, get to the free throw line. He's tough to defend. And he was huge in that second half on the offensive end and able to knock down a few shots they were in that second half from deep to even open up the court a little bit more. Again, he's going to create opportunities. If he's getting into the lane, that's going to create shooting opportunities for other guys. So really impressive second half performance by the Tigers.
Memphis outscored Missouri 51-33 in that second half. You mentioned Haggerty, who goes for 25. He adds 5 assists, and he got to the free throw line, which he does a lot. He did last year 11 times. He made 10 of them. And let's give a lot of credit to Moussa Cisse in his return. He's going full circle as he started at Memphis, now back at Memphis for his final year. They were hacking a Cisse at the end of that game, and he made 6 of 10, which is respectable. He also contributed with 14 points, 7 rebounds. He blocked a couple of shots. He altered another shot or two. But, yes, this was more about Penny's defense, which has been his go-to since he got here, but it went awry last year. Memphis did not play the defense that they needed to play last year. They relied too much on big names and their offensive capability, and unfortunately the chemistry, after starting out well, dissipated. It looks like this team has that chemistry. At halftime, it was Tyrese Hunter, one of the veterans on this team, who had a halftime speech. He said it was very receptive, and it seemed like it worked for this team to come together. So I don't think chemistry is going to be an issue whatsoever. It's a very limited roster. So Penny is going to use all these guys for the most part, except for maybe a couple of walk-ons. Last night, if that game had gone to overtime or something like that, he may have had to use a few of those walk-ons, as there were 3 players who fouled out of the game for Memphis. There were a couple of questionable calls that did not go Memphis's way. But, yeah, it was very interesting because I did the broadcast on ESPN Plus. So Penny comes over to us and talks to us right before he goes to the locker room. And I talked about Missouri just beating you down the court, transition buckets. They were dominating in the paint. And he said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, it's going to be a different story in the second half. We're going to get this thing right. And they did. And he was a man of his word. 3-point shooting, which was awful in the exhibition games against North Carolina and Alabama, was very respectable. 8 of 20, 40%. You'll take that. You'll take 8 made threes and 40%. You said they forced turnovers. They forced 14 turnovers. Now, Memphis committed 16 themselves. But Memphis's turnovers, Eli, seemed like it was when they kind of rushed on trips down the court and just threw it in the traffic and it got deflected, things of that nature. I think if Memphis was a little more patient the last 5 minutes, they probably could have won that game by 15, 16 points because Missouri did not have an answer. They did not get a great game from Mark Mitchell, the Duke transfer in his first game. He had 8 points. Interesting substitutions and really starting lineup for Dennis Gates. I think this is a Missouri team that will be pretty competitive because they went out and they got a lot of players in the transfer portal and a great freshman class, but I wondered what the chemistry would be like in that first game when they have a roster that's really deep, basically double the amount of players that Memphis has. So hats off to Penny Hardaway and his team for playing the way they did in the second half. Now they'll head to UNLV for a game on Saturday, but that's the way you want to start out a season. Not a good first half where some of the boo birds came out, and Penny was asked about that, and the players were asked about that in the locker, or not in the locker room, but in the press conferences. And they basically said, Penny goes, I would have booed too, or something to that effect. And the players said they didn't really even notice it, but they were very excited about the fans that were behind them in that second half, got on their feet, made it loud, made it tough for Missouri.
I mean, you look at the second half numbers, and they held Missouri to 33% shooting overall, 2 of 9 from 3, forced 11 turnovers in that second half. I mean, they completely stymied them offensively. Missouri just had they were completely uncomfortable. There was times they had trouble just getting the ball in bounds. When they did, there was trouble getting it up court at times, because really the half-court defense was solid all night. It was just, again, in the first half, Missouri was able to get out and run and just beat them down and not have to worry about getting set up in the half-court. And, because the first half, they had, how many fast break points did they have in the first half? In the first half, it was 12-2 fast break points in the first half. In the second half, it was Mizzou still had 14, but Memphis had 10 in that second half, so they were able to get some easier ones as well. But yeah, you could just feel the different energy in the building too from the fans in that second half. Once they got that run going, it was just kind of an avalanche on top of Missouri.
And you possibly, I'm not going to say you would completely, but you would possibly understand if the Tigers, Memphis Tigers, had lost that game, mainly because of getting news hours before the game that one of their players, and a key player in the front court, Tyreke Smith, had left the team. Now, you could look at it two ways, maybe a rally after getting that news, and they certainly did in the second half, but also you could see and understand a deflation of some sort when you practice and prepare and get ready, and then all of a sudden a player leaves. Now, not without notice, because we know that just a couple weeks ago, the news had come out, the story had come out, had broken that Tyreke Smith asked for some personal days. It was reported first that he had left the team, that he was gone. That was not the case. He had asked for some personal days while they figured out what was going on, reportedly with the NIL. Well, he came back to the team, did not play the game in Huntsville against Alabama, the exhibition game. I was there. Now, he was injured again. That's what it looked like on the surface as I watched him. And then heard from Penny Hardaway, who said the same thing. So you thought that they had fixed that situation, whatever that situation was. Again, it seemed like it was NIL, but was it they weren't paying him? Did he want payments quicker? Did he want more money? Of course, he had a handler who was very, very much in the social media realm and saying things. Well, Tyreke Smith, and that news breaks yesterday afternoon. And so now, moving forward, Memphis is really thin. That's why they need games like this, in which they got from Moussa Cisse, okay from Dane Danger, Nicholas Jourdain. That's their front court. They are lacking in the bodies in the front court. And you look over at the other side, Missouri has got 3 7-footers on the bench. I mean, they have a lot of players. But this drama has to stop, and I just don't know if there's any end in sight. And again, I don't know, and I don't know if anybody knows for sure exactly what the details are. All I know is that was a Booger, his handler, whoever that was, came out. Boog Knight. Not to be confused with Suge Knight. He came out and said, once again, this isn't Penny. And then I had this. Do you have this the article there or the statement? I mean, Penny had said last night, and I had it a second ago, and all of a sudden it disappeared. but Penny had spoken to our Dave Voloshin after the game, and basically said that we wish Tyreek well. We thank him for coming here with the.
Thank you for the hard work during his.
They thanked him.
Brief time with the program. The hard work he turned in practice.
His intentions
in that one exhibition game.
Yeah, I don't get it, but Penny certainly took the high road. And again, they said that this isn't on Penny. So I'm not going to go down this avenue again. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Signed contracts. What did they tell the kid he was going to get? What was signed? What is on paper that's signed? Did the kid alter it? Did they want more money up front? Did they want to add more money? I don't know. But you can't. You hope that these stories and these situations are limited around the country, because it's just hard on a program for this to happen hours before the start of a game. Hours.
Well, I mean, according, I think it was Jason Munz, the team knew on Saturday.
Okay.
So it wasn't. Okay. For them, it wasn't. This wasn't a.
Okay. Well, that's better. So that's better. They had a little cushion.
This was known on Saturday to the team. Yeah. Again,
but still, you don't need these headaches.
This is the world of college athletics today. I mean, there's. Who knows what exactly happened and why he became unhappy, and who's at completely. I'm sure there's fault to be handed around on a lot of different areas here, but he clearly didn't really want to be here, and knew that if he played in one game, he wouldn't be able to be transfer somewhere else and be eligible this season. So makes the decision to go elsewhere, and we'll see what happens with him, but they have to move on at this point. And yeah, it's tough because, that's another body up front that you don't have now, and there's not a whole lot there. So they certainly, as you go through the season, can't afford any injuries up front. It puts a lot of pressure on those guys to stay out of foul trouble. I mean, there's just not a whole lot up there on that front line.
Yeah, for certain. And right now, until they are able to corral things with unilateral rules and regulations, which I don't know if we'll see, but they need to have that. We're going to have this continuation, I think, unfortunately, around the country. The bottom line for me is, and again, we talked about this before, number one, you have to have your NIL deals on paper, signed, sealed, delivered, and it has to be pretty clear what exactly they expect from you and what will be the return in compensation. Okay, that I believe he had, right? There was something on paper. Now, again, if you get promises from coaches, even coaches, and especially coaches who may have left, and that's not documented, then too bad. You're, out of luck. There's nothing you can do about that. But if you have a signed contract and you're not getting paid, that's a problem. And I'm not saying that that's the situation, because it seems like he has been paid. Again, were they asking for more money? I don't know. It's just, even though they found out on Saturday, which again gave him a little bit more cushion time to be ready for this game last night, it still is not good in the scheme of things to, again, start a season, lose a player right off the bat. But the Tigers of Memphis persevere. They beat the Tigers of Missouri and a good, solid opening day win, 83-75 in come-from-behind fashion. Now, again, they'll set their sights on UNLV Saturday in Las Vegas. Also, the Memphis women, congratulations to Alex Simmons. They win their opener at El Marone Fieldhouse earlier in the day, an 11 a.m. tip yesterday, 89-78. Memphis is down some players. D.D. Hageman, the big transfer from Michigan State, won't be eligible till the second semester. Sometime I think in December it is. But Hannah Riddick had a huge game, 26 points, 17 rebounds for the win. Oh, by the way, the Ole Miss women, I was actually at the gym and I was watching them play. They're in Hawaii, and they lost a tight game to USC. That was a fun game to watch, 68-66. Not Hawaii. They're in Paris, actually. In Paris, France. Ole Miss loses that one 68-66. Elsewhere in men's action last night, pretty much cream puffs for some of the local and regional schools. Ole Miss over Long Island, game you heard right here on Sports 56, 98.5 FM. They win 90-60 over Long Island. Jalen Murray with 24.
Yeah, he was really good. 5 of 8 from 3-point range. Again, they got that kind of a trio of experienced guys in him and Matthew Morrell and Jamin Brakefield, and they've sprinkled in some transfer portal guys and a couple of freshmen. Malik Dia, one of the big-time transfer guys who they expect a lot of, got in early foul trouble and ended up only playing like 11 minutes in that game. But Murray was fabulous in shooting the basketball, and that's a good Ole Miss team, especially just with that experience when you're talking about those guys and how much experience they have at the college level, and guys who now are playing together. I mean, for Morrell and Brakefield, this is what, year number 4 together, or I guess three. I guess Brakefield is his 3rd year, but 2. You don't often see 3 guys in your starting lineup who have all played together for a couple of years.
Right, and year number 2 for Chris Beards. That first year, he had a solid year, getting acclimated to his new surroundings, and now it's all systems go for Ole Miss. Tennessee, another big season expected for them in Rick Barnes' 10th year at Tennessee. 80-64 over Gardner-Webb. Chaz Lanier had 18 points in Mississippi State, and they're expected to be very good this year as well. 95-60 over West Georgia. Josh Hubbard with 26 points for Mississippi State. Obviously, the Grizzlies played last night, lost a tough one. They'll play the Lakers tomorrow, who may or may not be without Anthony Davis. We'll have more on that later on in the show. But when we come back, it's all about college football. What will the first playoff rankings look like tonight? We'll talk to Connor O'Gara. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
If there's a better time of year to spend some time in the comfortable confines of Bell Tavern, I don't know what it is. This time of year when the air is getting crisp and college football, the NFL, the Grizzlies, and the Tigers are all playing is the ideal time to grab a seat at Memphis' best-kept secret. We say it all the time, and it's still true. You could go to some chain bar where people tend to make a lot of noise, or you could settle into Bell Tavern where people tend to act like adults. There will be cheering and there will be jeering, but it won't be chaos because at Bell Tavern, it's assumed you'll act like a grown-up.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up. I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code QUICK to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code QUICK for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code QUICK for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You know our trusted partner, TireRack.com, for their fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, convenient installation options, and their great selection of best tires, like the highly consumer-rated Hankook Dynapro AT2 Extreme. But did you know they sell other automotive products? Wheels, brakes, suspension, just to name a few. Go to TireRack.com/Colin. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good point. They're still working this accident over here on Cottonwood at Goodlett Street. Again, it's got a lot of debris on the ground from that crash. Looks like some rain to the west of Memphis. Be careful if you're traveling down I-40, headed out towards Forest City there through that section of Arkansas. You could run into some rain showers. Again, rain to the west of Memphis. Be careful. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in the Memphis area. Go see them today at Weimer's Jewelry. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston
and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 7:25 the time. Hour number one here on Sports 56 Mornings, the Election Day edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers. It's also the first playoff rankings tonight. We are all looking forward to that, those who love the game of college football and who doesn't. Let's talk about it with Connor O'Gara.
It's time to talk some SEC and college football. Joining Greg and Eli is Connor O'Gara from SaturdayDownSouth.com and SaturdayTradition.com. Here's Connor O'Gara with Greg and Eli.
He is Connor O'Gara. You can follow him on Twitter at CJ O'Gara. He joins us every other week during the college football season to talk college pigskin. You know, football dominates, Connor, just about everything out there in the world of sports. I don't think it's going to dominate the election, though, tonight. So it's going to be second fiddle. But for us, we have all eyes on that committee and what they'll do.
Yeah, what else is going on tonight besides the first college football playoff rankings? That's all I've been locked in on. News to me. I guess I'll have to check out this other stuff. Maybe I won't. But yeah, the eyes of the nation will be on the first CFP poll of 2024 in this new era.
All right, I'm going to put you right on the spot here. Give me your top 10.
Top 10. Can we do top 12 since it's the new 12-team playoff?
So is there only going to be 12 or is it going to be 25?
No, it'll be 25 like normal. But first of all, that I don't know if have you ever asked someone to list off? And I'm not stalling here. I promise. I do actually have the answer to your question.
Oh, do you?
But,
that's great. We didn't set that up either. Okay.
Have you ever asked someone to list off 12 things just like in a row? Because that's tall, and I'm going to deliver for you. Okay, so I have LSU at 12. I have Bama at 11, and once again, these are how I think it will play out tonight, not necessarily how I think these teams will be ranked. I have Indiana at 10. I have BYU at 9, just because I feel like people are like the selection committee will disrespect BYU, even though their resume is better than people realize. I would have them a lot higher than 9. Notre Dame at 8, Tennessee at 7, Penn State at 6, Texas at 5, Miami at 4, Ohio State at 3, Georgia at 2, and Oregon at 1. That's how I see it playing out.
Where do you believe Boise State will be ranked in these first rankings?
13th, right on the outside of that top 12. Looking in, and that's just based on how they have typically perceived the group of 5 in these initial rankings. And for everyone saying, well, what about the Oregon loss and what about Ashton Genty? That's huge, and that's going to help them start off a lot better than probably 99% of group of 5 teams ever have, and that's good. But you still kind of look at the resume and you're like, all right, well, you're still struggling for those quality wins. The UNLV win was a nice win. UNLV has to stay in the top 25 for Boise State to kind of continue to climb the ranks. And, for them to really push for that potential first-round bye, which could very much be on the table depending on how things shake out, not only in the Big 12, but also in the ACC, where if you get like an SMU, conference champ or something like that, or if a non-BYU team wins the Big 12, then, of course, we could be having a different conversation about Boise State getting that all-important first-round bye, which would be an unbelievable feat if a group of 5 team got that.
What if they don't get into that first round bye category? What do you think the chances are of them not being one of the top 4, but also not being number 12, falling somewhere between 5 and 11?
I think those chances are fairly good. I do. I mean, I wouldn't rule out the idea of Boise State getting a home playoff game in the first round and being in that 5 through 8 group. I think that's on the table. I don't think that you can look at their remaining schedule and feel too concerned about that. I think it'd be a little bit different if they were in the AAC, which I believe is the stronger overall conference. But, you kind of sit there and you're like, well, who's going to test them? And that's because it feels like all their biggest tests are in the rearview mirror. Mm-hmm. And, like with all due respect to Oregon State and the really tough spot that they were put in, I would still think that if you're going to play within 3 points against Oregon, you're going to have a fairly decent chance of being able to play against Oregon State. And I think that you would look at a conference championship scenario and, okay, well, Colorado State. Well, Colorado State is a team that got whooped by Colorado, a much improved Colorado team. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they're going to get to play UNLV again. It'll be a rematch scenario where you never want to discount the value of getting to face a team twice. But as of right now, I'm looking at Boise State wondering how high they're going to go. And I would, if I'm a Boise State fan, I would really feel a lot better if they're in the top 15 to start off. But, yeah, I think that they're going to have a lot of opportunities to kind of keep rising as some of these teams keep losing.
All right, let's break down some of the teams you have in your list. Oh, by the way, what was the conference breakdown? You rattled up those 12 real quick. What do you have there?
4 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten. I have 1 from the Big 12, 1 from the ACC, 1 independent, and then who am I forgetting? And Notre Dame being the independent. Did I? Yeah, I think I did that right.
That's exactly what I said yesterday when Barrett Sallee was on. I said right now the 12 is going to be exactly what you just said. So let's break down a little bit of what you said. Penn State. All right. So Penn State does what they usually do. They'll play Ohio State and lose, Michigan and lose. They don't play Michigan this year. They probably beat Michigan this year, but they just lost in front of a record-setting crowd of over 111,000 at home. They don't play Oregon. They don't play Indiana, which is having a great year. Why are they so high on that list?
Confirmation bias. Yeah, you're exactly right. Their best win is probably at Wisconsin in a battle that turned into backup quarterbacks. The USC win was nice, I guess, at the time.
They're under 500.
Yeah, they're under 500, and that was an overtime game. The Illinois win, that was a 7-point game with 2 minutes left. I agree. I would not have Penn State that high. I don't think Penn State is worthy of being in that spot. It's, what were they in the preseason, and how much are you going to knock them just for losing to Ohio State? That's the way that it will be perceived, I believe. Now, if you're actually looking at straight-up resume, and you're trying to discount the historical factors that are working against Penn State and the fact that they haven't beaten Ohio State since 2016, and it was only because of a perfect bounce on a blocked field goal, you would look at the resume and go, well, how come they would be getting the benefit of the doubt and we're going to talk down Miami's resume? What's the significance in that? Or better yet, why is Penn State being given that love? And in my unbiased opinion, why is Indiana potentially going to be ranked behind Penn State when Indiana hasn't lost any of those games and they've got wins just as good as Penn State? So, yeah, I think their resume deserves to be scrutinized, and I will be mad if they are where I projected them to be at number 6.
Yeah, it's always interesting when comparing, for instance, a Penn State resume versus a Tennessee resume, like right now. Tennessee has the better win because they got the Alabama win, but they got the loss to Arkansas. So it's like, how do you compare a bad loss versus a good win to a team that doesn't have the good win but doesn't have the bad loss? Their only loss is to an Ohio State. So it's always weird to me, like, how do you try and balance those things and figure that out?
I think there is so much more value in who you beat than who you lost to. I think that has always been the biggest issue with the selection committee. And that's not to say that there haven't been cases in which that's been a bit hypocritical, and they've looked like they've been speaking out of both sides of their mouths with that. But I have always defaulted to who have you beaten, and not gotten as concerned with the quality of loss. And I think some people, that's going to be really difficult to comprehend in the 12-team playoff era, where we're going to be comprehending more losses. We're going to have to figure out more of what this looks like for the teams with 2 losses and maybe even the teams with 3 losses, depending on who they've beaten. Now, Tennessee having that all-important Bama win is so critical at this juncture because obviously their offense and what we've seen from them in the last month, this suggests that this is not a world beater of a team, and their issues with scoring in the first half. But having that Alabama win is really important for them moving forward. I think Tennessee can still go 10-2 with a loss to Georgia and having potentially that Vanderbilt game to close the regular season and still get in as an at-large team.
Connor O'Gara joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest lines, the senior national columnist for Saturday Down South, the host of the Saturday Down South podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at CJ O'Gara. All right, speaking of Georgia, obviously things could change in a heartbeat this Saturday with the huge game in Oxford. But you have Georgia 2 on your list?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And they'll probably be 2. But my question is, why wouldn't Ohio State be ahead of them? Georgia has the win over Clemson and the loss to Alabama. Clemson got clobbered by Miami this past week. Ohio State's only loss, if I'm not mistaken.
Clemson lost to Louisville.
Clemson lost to Louisville, sorry. But again, their win was over a Clemson team that just lost and got clobbered by Louisville. You have Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken, only loss is 1 point to Oregon, who's going to be the number 1 team. And then they go into Happy Valley, again, in front of 111,000 and win. Why wouldn't Ohio State be number 2?
I view what Georgia did at Texas as more impressive than what Ohio State did at Penn State. And maybe some of that is historical, and I'm trying to discount that, but it's a team that, like, Ohio State has had their number. Ohio State beating Penn State, I don't think will move the needle quite in the same way that Georgia and its destruction of Texas in Austin will. Okay. And I think there's also the fact that, you know, Georgia, if we're talking about quality of loss, then yeah, obviously Ohio State has arguments, like I was just saying. I don't think quality of loss is taken quite as importantly as who did you beat. And Ohio State doesn't have that second victory. Let's remember, too, that while Georgia had 2 power conference opponents in non-conference play, one of which is Georgia Tech, they haven't faced them yet, they were willing to actually schedule that, whereas Ohio State scheduled, I don't know, the local hardware store for their non-conference schedule. Like, it's a joke what they did in non-conference play. And I think the selection committee, who will look at, okay, well, yeah, you got the 9-game conference schedule. Georgia still played more power conference opponents than Ohio State did. And they blew out Clemson in that opener. And I do think that that's going to carry more weight as a second win to bolster that resume as opposed to what Ohio State put on its plate. I mean, let's just call it what it is. So I think there will be a slight edge. It won't stun me if Ohio State's number 2. Okay, the recency bias of that Penn State win is going to matter, and the fact that Georgia did not look like a world beater by any stretch of the imagination against what should have been an overmatched Florida team. But still, I think that Ohio State will be 1 spot behind Georgia, and they'll be at that 3 and 2 spots.
Well, look, I believe I'm a straight shooter here. I'm certainly not an SEC homer, but I look at the top and the middle of the 2 conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC. And while the Big Ten is top heavy with 3 really, really, really good teams and maybe a 4th in Penn State, the rest of those teams, I mean, you could throw them into a bag and there's nobody that's good. And to me, the SEC is much deeper. Now, the SEC has some bad teams, some struggling teams at the bottom, but I think they're way deeper. So I would put more emphasis on that behind those closed doors with that committee when I'm looking and trying to compare a 2-loss SEC to a 1-loss ACC, 1-loss Big 12, even a 1-loss Big 10. That's the way at least I see it. I'm not sure. I would imagine you do as well.
People will not like this one. It clearly shows the SEC having the most representation in this first top 25. What people will conveniently ignore is right now, as we sit here going into the second weekend of November, the SEC has 9 teams, kind of 9 teams that are sitting there with 1 or 2 losses. Okay, you look around and you're trying to figure out, like, all right, well, what is it for the rest of the rest of the conferences? Or wait, no, we're at 8. We're at 8. Okay, so not quite 9, but you kind of break that down. You're like, all right, well, the Big Ten has 4. You know who those are. Right now, the Big 12 also has 4 of those teams, and then the ACC. Yeah, the ACC has 5 of those teams, but the problem is that, okay, well, Clemson is sitting there having just got blown out. Syracuse is sitting there at 6-2 and outside of the top 25. Pitt was undefeated and wasn't even getting respect as like a legit like top 10 or top 15 team because they hadn't beat anyone. Miami doesn't have a ranked team on their schedule, and then SMU, there's a little bit more wait and see, despite the fact that they actually have a better resume right now, even though they do have the 1 loss. So you kind of look at all of those things, and you're like, well, yeah, why wouldn't the SEC get the benefit of the doubt? If we're just talking about it in terms of, all right, not necessarily just brands, but we're just talking about the number of losses, that's going to favor the SEC in an area that the selection committee is tended to reward.
So you mentioned Georgia and the game against Florida, a game with in a lot of ways they dominated, but Carson Beck just continues to throw the ball to the other team, so it limits their ability to blow somebody out. Ole Miss looked amazing. Jackson Dart, Jordan Watkins doing their thing and just steamrolling Arkansas. Lane could use one of these wins. Can he get it? Does he get it against Georgia this week?
I don't think he gets it. And the irony is that the area in which you wondered about with this matchup is going to be the least of Ole Miss's worries, right? The defensive line additions that Lane has made, not just this past year in the portal, but really the past several years, if you want to go back to J.J. Pegues, Jared Ivey getting him from Georgia Tech, and obviously Walter Nolan, Princely, Umamielen. Like, those guys are the clear strength of this team. They have 17 more TFLs than anybody in college football. I mean, it's absurd. So they're going to be good up front, and they should give Georgia's offensive line a really good test, especially if Tate Ratledge isn't quite back to 100% just yet. So, yeah, could they speed up Carson Beck? Could they force him into some mistakes? Absolutely. But what's this Ole Miss offensive line going to look like? That's what I don't know. And Ole Miss is getting banged up at the worst time on offense. Yeah, they scored 63 points. Jordan Watkins was unstoppable. Jackson Dart was in the zone. But if we're talking about a team without Trey Harris, we're talking about a team potentially without Henry Parrish Jr. or without those guys at 100%, TBD on how that's going to go. And then, what's it going to look like if they're without a left guard here, or they're not necessarily at 100% on, this part of the offensive line? I don't know. I don't know that Caden Prescorn didn't play against Arkansas either. I don't know that Ole Miss's offense is going to be ready to go. I really don't. And that's a weird thing to say after what we just saw them do against Arkansas. I think Georgia's a different beast if they're going to get after you in the front seven like they've been capable of doing, like they still did in that game against Florida.
Looking into your crystal ball, who's in the SEC championship game?
Is it boring to say Texas and Georgia? Because I'll go with that. It's boring. It's really boring. I predicted in the preseason that Texas and Georgia, they were going to face each other 3 times this year. So I guess I'll kind of stick with it. But it is fun that we have this much intrigue this late into the season, and the divisionless SEC is 100% responsible for it. Most years, the SEC championship, we would have the 2 divisions decided by the end of this weekend. And we're probably going into the regular season finale with that unknown. And that's super exciting for this conference. And I'm here for that. But yeah, give me Georgia and Texas. I think both of them have the ability to run the table, even though that is by no means a gimme that Texas can go into College Station as well. And Georgia, obviously, with a tough road, having to beat still both Ole Miss and Tennessee. Like, Georgia's sitting there going to have potentially the best case if they go 9-3 to get into the college football playoff, as much as that would upset everyone.
Yeah, we talked about that with you probably about 5 weeks ago.
That Le'Veon Moss injury certainly hurts A&M in their efforts to try and beat Texas. There's about it. Who do you like, LSU, Alabama?
Man, I haven't made a pick on this yet. I think I'm going to go with LSU. I'm going to say Brian Kelly gets one. And this is a nice bounce back for an LSU team that should be able to do some things defensively to confuse Jalen Milroe and to make him kind of second-guess this offense, which for the most part I think has looked good but can obviously look better. This could definitely be a vintage Jalen Milroe game. If you kind of look at it, he's been a better player on the road than he's been at home, but I don't know, maybe just the way that he finished that Tennessee game is giving me a bad taste in my mouth about this Alabama offense. Ryan Williams has kind of since cooled down after a blistering start. I think LSU, off of the bye week, and I realize Bama's off the bye week as well, I think they come a little bit more composed, and it's probably good that they didn't have a game immediately after Texas A&M. So I think that ultimately benefits them in a setting like this.
Yeah, you don't sound real confident with that when it's LSU. Okay, I'll go with LSU. Real quick, less than 30 seconds, you wrote about not a fact, but the possibility that the SEC will not have a representative at the Heisman. If Jackson Dart has another huge game and Ole Miss beats Texas this weekend, Georgia this weekend, does he put himself in position to possibly get an invite?
He does. And again, that's before he went off for video game numbers and what he did against Arkansas. So I was kind of looking at the range.
No, I understand.
So, yeah, you're right. He's got the best case of anybody probably right now to be in that discussion. I still would say he's probably not going to end up going to New York, just because if I'm guessing, I think that probably it's going to have to be a team that's in the SEC championship, and if you're not there, which I don't think Ole Miss will be, then that path gets a lot tougher. But yeah, I mean, he's probably the SEC's last remaining chance outside of maybe Diego Pavia just shocking the world one more time.
It would be crazy, though, because he has a chance to lead the nation in passing. Like, if Dart were to lead the nation in passing and Ole Miss, like, say they do win this week and they go 10-2 and are in the playoff, like, you think an SEC quarterback leading the nation in passing and getting his team to the playoff would be a shoo-in for New York.
Yeah, and especially if the Trey Harris injury lingers and he kind of rises above that and he, works his way through that, that would definitely add to his case. That is the path, though. I mean, anything short of that, it's going to be really, really difficult for Jackson Dart to get there.
The great Connor O'Gara. Make sure to read him at Saturday Down South. Listen to that great Saturday Down South podcast. Follow him on Twitter at CJ O'Gara. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Enjoy tonight.
Gentlemen, you too. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Connor.
Folks, moving can be a very stressful time if you've got a move coming up. Maybe you've just bought a new home. Maybe you're moving to a new office space, whatever it is you're moving, wherever it is you're moving. It might be right down the street, might be across town, might be across country. Well, regardless, you don't want to try and do it all yourself. You need the professionals. You want the experts to do that for you. And the right ones to go with, well, that would be Black Tie Moving. Talk to the folks at Black Tie. They'll come up with a plan by working with you, fitting your needs, fitting your budget, making sure that your belongings and everything goes as smoothly as possible, and you're not going to have any issues whatsoever. All you got to do is pick up the phone and give them a call, 316-6196, 901-316-6196, or you can go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to talk with the experts. 5-star ratings all over the place online. You've got A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. People that use Black Tie rave about the experience they have with Black Tie Moving. Don't try and do it yourself. Go with the professionals. Black Tie Moving, 901-316-6196 or blacktiemoving.com/Memphis.
Zach Edey goes off in Brooklyn, but the Nets beat the Grizz. We'll discuss that when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. A letter in your mailbox says you could save money bundling your home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. You saw it after your teenager backed the car into the mailbox. Dumb news. A new mailbox, basically a box on a stick, costs up to $400. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and go with paperless mail instead. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers not available in all states.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Grizzlies will be back in action tomorrow night. They'll host the Lakers. Anthony Davis may or may not be able to go. What was it, an ankle that he rolled?
I don't know, it's ankle or foot injury, and he's been battling that. I think it's a foot injury, and so
he hasn't been ruled out yet for tomorrow night. The Lakers lost again on the road. They got off to a quick start this season, and they lost to Brooklyn. No, not to Brooklyn. They lost to Detroit. Detroit with a couple of wins in a row, but the Lakers will come in tomorrow night to play the Grizzlies. Grizzlies now at 4-4 after losing to the Brooklyn Nets last night on the road, 106-104. So the Grizz split the two between Philadelphia and Brooklyn, and unfortunately, these are the games that may come back and haunt you at the end. As far as standings are concerned, when you get swept by the Brooklyn Nets. And this despite a huge game for the rookie Zach Edey, who went for 25 points on 11 of 12 shooting, 1 of 1 from 3. He added 12 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds, and blocked 4 shots. A huge tone-setting Zach Edey performance, and you're not going to always have games like this, but it just shows you the possibilities with Edey. Unfortunately, in the end, Memphis had a chance to win, unable to. Santi Aldama's 3 would have won it for him.
Yeah, this was when Brooklyn was here, and they didn't even have Nick Claxton. I mean, they're very undersized, and so it's good to see Edey dominate them the way he did. He had 7 dunks in the game. He is the first rookie with 25 or more points, 10 or more rebounds, 4 or more blocks, and shooting 90% from the field since Akeem Olajuwon.
Wow.
So that's a pretty nice company to keep if you're keeping company. Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic. They couldn't make threes. Jalen Wells struggled really, kind of for the first time. 0 for 5 from three-point range. Santi was 0 for 6, so you got Wells and Aldama combining to go 0 for 11 from three-point range. When you don't have Desmond Bane, you don't have Luke Kennard, those are a couple of guys you need to make some threes. And so the Grizzlies go 8 for 30. The last possession, it was a nice, very nice, really good play by Dennis Schroeder to poke the ball away from Ja. They got it into Ja's hands. They were going to let him make a play, but Schroeder poked it away, and Aldama picked it up and had to throw up a prayer that had no chance at going in. So Schroeder, again, was really good, and he's kind of been a thorn in the Grizzlies' side. The two 360 layups by Ja Morant.
I saw one of them.
I can't remember the first one. I guess the first one, the first half one was the one where he came all the way across the lane and went from the right side to the left side. Dude, that's... I don't know. I mean, the pure athletic ability and body control while you're in the air to do that stuff is just, it's like mind blowing. Like it's just crazy to take off, spin, kind of know where you are while going all the way across the lane, and then with your left hand lay it up and make it look easy.
Well, obviously I couldn't watch the game, but I saw the one highlight. I didn't see both those plays you're talking about, but I saw the one where he switched hands, did the 360, and you just see the fans in the background just kind of like in disbelief with their jaws wide open and hanging to the ground. But yeah, I've said it from the get-go. He has that Elgin Baylor-esque ability to hang in the air. So while everybody is starting to begin their descent down, he continues to elevate up and then almost kind of hover in the air. And while being able to do things like switch hands or go to a reverse or anything it's just, he's breathtaking. He, again, is a guy that I've always said is a must-watch. He's must-watch. If you are a fan of the NBA, he's must-watch. There's only a few of those players out there. He is one of them.
But in the end, getting swept by Brooklyn is just awful. I mean, you can't. You just can't get swept by that team. I mean, they're not even really trying to win, quite frankly. And while they've got some good players, and Dennis Schroeder has played extremely well. Again, he's been a real problem for the Grizzlies. And Cam Thomas can go out and he could have put up points in bunches, and Cam Johnson's all that. But you just can't get swept by the team. You just cannot do that. In the end, yes, it's only 2 out of 82, but that's just if you do end up missing something by one game or whatever, you'll look back and go, we got swept by Brooklyn.
Look,
and that's inexcusable to get swept by that team.
I understand they opened with 6 games in 9 days. I understand that they're missing a number of key players, and now they're without Des, Bain, and Smart. But this schedule was so advantageous to start the year. So you get the Sixers without Embiid and Paul George, and you beat them. Paul George was in the lineup last night for the first time in a Philly uniform. You play the Nets. Again, even with what you have, you would think it's good enough to beat the Nets. Nope, doesn't happen. Lakers tomorrow night, you may play them without Anthony Davis. The Wizards come in on Friday. Then you go to Portland on Sunday. Again, these are games that you, on paper, should win. And even though you're shorthanded, if you don't, when you get all those guys back, you could be in a little bit of a hole. They're treading water at 4-4. Right now, they would be in the play-in at number 10. But you have to take advantage of this schedule because it's going to get a lot harder. And right now, they haven't failed, but they haven't really taken advantage of it. A loss to the Bulls, 2 losses to the Nets. Again, you beat an Orlando team that at that time had Paolo Banchero. That was a good win. That was the home opener and all the pomp and circumstance. But they need some of those guys back. And hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, I would. Again, between Bain and Kennard, just shooting is paramount in today's NBA, today's basketball, and you don't want to have to continue to rely on a rookie second-round pick to provide your shooting. It'd be nice to get some guys who have proven they can do it at this level on a regular basis, and have those guys in that lineup, and then let Jalen Wells be kind of the bonus guy knocking down some shots.
Absolutely. Ja, by the way, 25-9, but again, that bobble there on that last possession, who knows what would have happened if he had a clean dribble and maybe they got a better look there instead of a desperation 3 at the buzzer. Oh, by the way, in the East, the Cavaliers and the Celtics are the only teams with a winning record. Isn't that crazy? Cleveland are they now 8-0? I believe they're 8-0, and Boston is 7-1. Double check, 8-0, 7-1. I believe that's the deal.
Yes.
And that's a combined 15-1. So all these other teams, the Brooklyns of the world, they're not over 500.
Brooklyn's actually in third right now in the East.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
4-4 record.
Yeah, thanks to 2 wins over the Grizzlies. Well, take your basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. Shoot 360 is a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification, provides instant objective feedback with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. You have a basketball player in your family. They want to get better. You're a coach of a team. You want your team to get better? Shoot 360 Memphis is the place for you. And now they have monthly memberships. Nice little birthday present or Christmas present for somebody that, again, is a basketball player, and I'm sure you have at least one in your family. For more information, you can contact them in Cordova at 901-779-3176 or in Collierville at 901-316-5500. You can become a member of both of their facilities. The new Cordova facility is just breathtaking. It would probably behoove you to go out there and get a tour of the facility, find out more about them, what they have to offer, because really me talking about it doesn't do it the justice it deserves by going out and actually seeing what I mean. It's all the modern technology, the modern analytics, the coaching that you get, that one-on-one coaching, the gamification, so you're having fun while playing the game of basketball. It's Shoot 360 Memphis. You can also go online to sign up at Shoot 360 Memphis. The future of basketball training is here at Shoot 360 Memphis. Hour 1 in the books. We open up Hour 2 with Humdinger's Trivia. Then we talk Ole Miss and their big battle this week against Georgia with David Johnson from 247 Sports. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 901-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com. Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa setting. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure. Whitten Road at I-40. Family and fun come together. For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the Little Red Tractor from Case IH, the Farmall, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Well, Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list, from hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find the Case IH Farmall that's right for you. There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wallo said hello.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with the Z. Good food fast.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. It's trying to build already out here in a couple of spots, but it's moving on 55, making your way up through South Haven, coming up from DeSoto County all the way in to South Memphis here on 55 at Brooks. Trying to build also in the Midtown area from time to time, northbound 240 here at Lamar. Still looks good coming down I-40 westbound, coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County. Weiber's Jewelry 7525. Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:04 the time, hour 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seegers. We're broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, the ultimate game room and fall sale going on right now, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 70 degrees. We'll get up to 79 today, but the clouds are going to continue to form, and the rain is a-coming. Heavy thunderstorms are expected this afternoon with winds possibly up to 25 miles per hour. Heavy rainfall is possible. There's a marginal risk of severe weather, and those thunderstorms will continue into the evening, and then steady rain overnight into your Wednesday morning, 64 for a low. Then tomorrow, again, more rain with 71 for a high temperature. Coming up in hour number 2, Tim Duncan will join us at 8:25, the Senior Deputy Athletics Director for the University of Memphis. We'll talk Memphis Tigers basketball as we did to open the show after their season opening win last night over Missouri. David Johnson will join us in just a moment to talk Ole Miss and Georgia, the big showdown Saturday at Vaught-Hemingway in Oxford. The second hour of the program brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. I'll give you a little bit more information on James Gaddis Jewelers in just a few moments, but we do this each and every Tuesday. It's time for Humdinger's Trivia.
That's right. And, of course, on Tuesdays, that also means Taco Tuesday over at Humdinger's with their chicken and fish tacos, just $2 each all day long. Each and every Tuesday, you could take advantage of that. But maybe if you're not there on a Tuesday or just not in the mood for the tacos, well, there's plenty of great items to choose from, including all their grilled fish options, whether it be the tilapia, the salmon, mahi-mahi, catfish, rainbow trout, ahi tuna steak. They've got all those options for you with some great toppings. Of course, they're great sides as well that you could choose from. Of course, you got some great sandwiches that you can choose from. All kinds of just absolutely fantastic items on the menu. So many different healthy items on the menu over at Humdinger's. You'll find them at Poplar and Massey. You can find them online and check out that full menu, humdingersrestaurant.com. You can also get catering information there on the website as well. Great idea for catering any event that you have with Humdinger's. If you are the first to answer our trivia question correctly, well, then you'll win a $25 gift certificate to Humdinger's. You can answer via text on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 901-360-8255. That's 360-8255. And again, that first correct answer will get the $25 gift certificate. And here is today's question. We were talking yesterday about Jalen Wells, who at that time was leading rookies in the NBA in scoring. By the way, now Zach Edey leading rookies in scoring in the NBA after his game last night. But I was thinking about second-round draft picks and scoring and things in the NBA. So, who holds the record for most points scored in an NBA game by a second-round draft pick? Doesn't have to be their rookie year. Somebody drafted in the second round. Who holds the record most points scored in an NBA game by a second-round draft pick? 360-8255, 360-8255. Text in those answers. First correct answer gets the $25 gift certificate to Humdinger's.
Ole Miss opened up the basketball season last night with a dub, but all eyes are on the Saturday showdown at Vaught-Hemingway's. They'll take on the Georgia Bulldogs. And we'll be joined here in a moment. Yeah, we'll be joined right now, in fact, by our good friend David Johnson, who covers Ole Miss for 247 Sports. You can follow David on Twitter at Rebels247. He joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. Hey, David.
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Doing fantastic. Hey, before we talk about the big game on Saturday, did you get a chance to watch the Rebs last night at the Pavilion? And just some quick thoughts, if you did, on the expectations for the season.
Yeah, expectations are sky high for both of Ole Miss's basketball programs, the men and the women. The women took USC to the brink yesterday as well.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, how about that? So, I think both of these teams are tournament teams, and, can't wait to watch the season play out. But, as you alluded to, there's a big football game in Oxford on Saturday.
How big in the scope of things, knowing that now we have a 12-team playoff, Georgia's coming to town, Ole Miss is a team that's good enough to be in the playoff. In the history of the football program, there have been huge games. How big is this one?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the modern era and actually what's at stake, I mean, I think it's top 3 or 4.
Wow.
I mean, there have been big games here before against Alabama and Auburn and LSU and things like that. But yeah, I mean this one is this one's right there at the top. I mean, you look at the polls, and of course the poll comes out tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That the coaches poll had Ole Miss number 12, which kind of surprised me. They jumped up 6 spots in that poll. The AP, I think they were number 16, if I'm not mistaken. I expect tonight it'll probably split the middle. I would think Ole Miss will be 13 or 14, probably still on the outside. But, there are so many games left to play. I really think if the Rebels were to win out, and they're 10-2 at the end of the year, with a victory over number 2 Georgia, they're going to the playoffs.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you would certainly think they'd have a really good chance because that I said if they're in that kind of mid-teens, a win this week, you would think they would probably jump into the top 12 next week with that type of win, and we'll see what happens. Where are things health-wise as far as going into this game?
Yeah, I think I heard a little chuckle there. I mean, with Lane Kiffin, who knows? I mean, the SEC, everybody was like, oh, yeah, the SEC is going to put injury reports out this year. Yeah, okay. At Ole Miss, you might as well just throw those in the trash can. But, I think they're pretty healthy. I think you're going to see Trey Harris play, although, the game Jordan Watkins put together was impressive last week as well. I think they're going to be okay. If there's one game you want to aim towards being healthy for, it's this one. And I really think that's why Trey Harris did not play against Arkansas. That they want to get him better, get him well. They need him for this game. Of course, where I would circle on the roster would be the running back situation. Henry Parrish Jr. goes out, and now you're down to Ulysses Bentley, Matt Jones, a former walk-on, and then this Albritton kid we saw get some carries at the end of the Arkansas game. So, it's kind of it's kind of a chef's choice there right now this week going into this game, and I really don't know if it even matters because, to tell you the truth, I mean, as you saw Saturday when Ole Miss moved the football, they did it through the air.
Right.
I think their chances of establishing a really productive ground game against Georgia are slim to none. I just think, it's going to have to be kind of a repeat of what we saw at Arkansas where, Jackson Dart is throwing darts and they're catching.
It's got to be through the air, and it has to be a stepped-up defense because we know that Beck can get rattled. He's thrown a lot of picks here, especially recently. But the protection for Dart is paramount. Obviously, he had all the time in the world to pick apart Arkansas, which he did. Mm-hmm. What about that offensive line going up against that defensive front for Georgia?
Yeah, I don't like it. That's the one matchup that I do not like going into Saturday. As I just said, I think Ole Miss will have a difficult time getting anything on the ground. Now, they did protect Dart well against Arkansas, but that was Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And, in case you haven't noticed, Arkansas doesn't have the same type of defensive front that the Georgia Bulldogs will bring to town.
Oh, I've noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. And, this is I mean, that's the one area of the game, look, I don't like. I mean, skills, as far as they match up, I think Ole Miss will be just fine. But I do not like the Ole Miss O-line versus the Georgia defensive front. And I think that's where Georgia can assert themselves and maybe separate themselves.
Mm.
How important is this game for Lane Kiffin? I know he got the LSU game last year, but to get kind of another, I guess, signature win?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important, but I think it's capsulated into this year. If you go back in the summertime and even before, the expectations at Oxford were taller than the Empire State Building. I mean, everybody in the country had this team as a potential playoff team, and they lose to Kentucky, and then LSU beats them. And I mean, let me say this: I remember going back to media day, and we're talking to the players in there, and my point being, it wasn't just the fans, it wasn't just the media. We were talking to the players, and it was playoffs or bust, playoffs or bust, time after time, guy after guy. And if they lose this game Saturday, there's no playoffs. Mm-hmm. And, so I think if you want to just, talk about how big of a game it is everything as far as this year is concerned. I know Lane's got a knock that he doesn't win the big games. Well, he beat LSU last year. He beat Penn State in the Peach Bowl. I mean, so I really don't buy into that. But this is a big game.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole season is on the line because you think if they can clear the Georgia hurdle, they can go to Gainesville and win, and they can certainly beat Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. Mm-hmm. And 10-2, and you're there. And, let's see what the committee says. But this game is everything Saturday as far as the 2024 season goes.
No question about it. David Johnson joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line and Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Okay, so I'm looking at these numbers, and numbers obviously can be misleading. Ole Miss, 9 games. Georgia, 8 games. It blows me away. Ole Miss has given up less points defensively than Georgia. 119 in 9 games. Georgia, 138 in 8 games. Again, could be misleading. But what do you think of the job that Pete Golding has done and this defense this year?
No, incredible. And listen, I mean, yeah, this is Pete. Pete is the architect of this defense in bringing in the kind of players that he wanted to have to work with. But you've also got to think about, Pete's staff. Look, he's got 2 other very accomplished defensive coordinators that are on that staff, and Zach Arnett and Brian Brown. And, he's got a defensive line coach in Randall Joyner that, knock on wood, I hope Ole Miss can keep him. He's got great coaches on the defensive side of the football, and they've got good synergy. But people ask a lot, is this Ole Miss defense for real? Well, let me tell you this. You've played Oklahoma and Arkansas back-to-back, and in the last 2 games, this defense has, 18 sacks?
Wow.
Yeah, it's for real. I think they're leading the country in sacks. It's stingy against the run. If there's a weakness, you may say in the secondary, but they're not bad back there either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 17 more tackles for loss than anybody else in the country.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. and listen, I mean, you want to talk about draft picks? I mean, Walter Nolan, Princely Umabellan, Jared Ivey. I mean, look, Pooh Paul, just the linebacker, was the Butkus, named to the Butkus Award semifinalist list, while his partner in crime, T.J. Daugherty, was co-SEC Defensive Player of the Week this week.
And in the past, as you know, David, you would have a player here, a player there. Obviously, they've put players in the NFL, but it wouldn't be 4, 5, 6 guys on one unit, on one starting unit that they have. So, no, there's no question that you can see the vast improvement. All right,
yeah.
So
go ahead.
Your thoughts. What do you think happens on Saturday?
Man, not only have I covered Ole Miss, but I'm a lifelong Ole Miss fan.
I know you are.
I'm 53 years old, and
you're also a straight shooter.
Yeah.
Take off the Ole Miss glasses now. What do you think?
I do think it's going to be a ball game. It wasn't last year, obviously. I think it's going to be decided late in the ball game. I think you're going to have things hanging in the balance in the fourth quarter. In the end, look, guys. I mean, glasses or not, if there's ever an Ole Miss year in the modern era, this is the year.
Yeah,
and I think the Rebels are going to win a close one.
I picked them in the preseason. I'm going to stick with it. I think Ole Miss is going to win as well. David, it's going to be a heck of a day for you, a heck of a day for everybody that covers Ole Miss and all the fans. And hopefully, look, if they win, the sky's the limit. So we'll get you back on very soon. Obviously, we love having you on. But, man, oh, man, it's going to be bonkers this Saturday in Oxford.
If they win, you better have me on Monday morning, man. Let's talk about that.
We will. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Have fun.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Take care. I like them. I like Ole Miss. I mean, I've kind of thrown all my eggs into that Ole Miss basket, and they're going to have to – if they win this game, I don't see them screwing up at Florida. I don't see them screwing up in the Egg Bowl. I think they're going to be in the playoff.
They should still be kicking themselves over the Kentucky loss.
I know, but you can't keep dwelling on that.
So bad.
I know. I understand.
If Ole Miss loses this game and ends up missing the playoffs, now, I don't know how the NIL contracts all read, but if they're not in the playoff and they're playing in the Citrus Bowl or whatever, they may have a record number of opt-outs.
Yeah.
They literally might have 15, 20 guys opt out because they got a ton of guys who
for
are
the NFL,
all going to the NFL after this year. Like I don't know what lineup they might throw out there if they're playing in a regular bowl game.
Well, it's been the case since the advent of NIL, but that bridge is getting more crowded. You're absolutely right. We'll cross that bridge, pun intended, when that happens. But yes, the teams that are in the playoffs, I don't think you're going to have to worry too much about that. Teams that are just going to a regular bowl game, and even though it might be a good bowl, you're probably going to have a lot of
and there may be something in the NIL contract that says you get extra money for playing in the bowl game, and maybe that holds some guys.
Hopefully there is.
But they could have a whole bunch of guys because, as he said, like for the players too, it was playoff or bust. Like everything at Ole Miss this year was about making the playoff. So if they don't, who knows how many guys they say, yeah, I don't really care about the Citrus Bowl. Not going to do that for you this year. All right, we do have a winner in our Humdingers trivia. We had a lot of folks who did come with the correct answer. Oh, however, there was one that beat everybody else and got in quicker, was quicker in either looking it up or maybe they just knew the answer. And that's why, because they were very, very quick in getting the correct answer in. The question was, who holds the record for most points scored in an NBA game by a second-round draft pick? You don't have to go back very far, because it happened in this calendar year. Back in March last season, it was a 61-point performance by Jalen Brunson. That is the record. A lot of people came with Nikola Jokic. Jokic has had a 50-point game, but he has never had 61 like Jalen Brunson did back in March. Jalen Brunson, the correct answer. Again, there was one that was a little bit quicker than everybody else with Brunson. We'll be contacting them and letting you know how you're going to collect your $25 gift certificate to Humdingers. If you had the correct answer, but you don't hear from us, that means you were not the fastest.
And we'll do it again next Tuesday. We thank Humdingers for being the sponsor of our Tuesday giveaway. Later on in the show, we'll talk NFL. The Chiefs remain unbeaten after a win last night. We got Tigers news. Ryan Silverfield meeting the media yesterday, what he had to say. But when we return, it's all about Memphis basketball. We'll be joined by former Memphis star and Senior Deputy Athletics Director now at the University of Memphis, Tim Duncan. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. An accident right now. We're looking at it live on 40 eastbound near Sycamore View Road. We're just glad it wasn't over in the westbound lanes. That's where the heaviest flow of traffic is for this time of the morning. But traffic's still moving over here for the most part in both directions. But the crash is in the eastbound lanes of I-40 there near Sycamore View Road. Still some volume coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County on 40 westbound there at Canada Road, Chambers Chapel. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. This is the place to shop for the holiday season that's coming up. That's Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
To reveal the full spectrum of its dazzling color.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Long day, but successful day for Memphis basketball, with the Memphis women opening up the season with a win early yesterday morning into the early afternoon. And then the Memphis men with a come-from-behind win with a big second half. They knock off Mizzou 83-75 to open up their season. And we're very pleased to be joined by the University of Memphis senior Deputy Athletics Director and former Memphis standout Tim Duncan, who you can follow on Twitter at TimDuncanAD, and he joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. Didn't start out well, Tim, in that first half, and then all of a sudden it changed completely for Memphis in that second half. Congratulations. Your first dub as the new University of Memphis Senior Deputy Athletics Director, and the Tigers open up the season with a big-time win against an SEC opponent.
Yeah, good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
It was awesome, man. It was a great win. Sorry about that. It was a great win, though. It started off slow, but that's kind of been the MO of the team for the first 3 games. And they finished strong, has also been the MO for the first 3 games, man. I was excited to see the type of defense that we've been talking about this preseason execute in the second half. It was awesome.
Do you think the two big-time exhibition games against North Carolina and Alabama, as opposed to maybe Missouri, which played Lincoln, with all due respect, really helped the team focus for this first game, having played top 10 teams?
Yeah, absolutely, and that was Penny's idea. I mean, you know, being from Memphis, you always want to try to play Lemoyne or Lane or Christian Brothers because that, you know, has been the right thing for the city. But Penny wisely said we have to do the right thing for us. And playing that type of talent, I think it definitely prepares you. I can't speak to it from the Missouri's end, but from our end, having guys go through those tough, critical moments when they had to put it on the line and fight to try to, you know, overcome a challenge of a bigger, stronger, sometimes opponent, I think was definitely helped us prepare for last night, for sure. We were able to weather the storm because we've seen the storms before. And that allowed us to come through, for sure. And definitely the home crowd, they got into it. And I was excited. And it was a great time to, you know, kind of watch our team step up to the challenge.
Speaking of that crowd, and obviously you give the North Carolina game, but that wasn't really your full production. So from the AD kind of viewpoint, did everything go well last night? Were you happy with the way everything went down?
Yeah, and good morning to you too, Eli. Yeah, absolutely, man. I know Ed and I watched the game, most of it together in the first half, and, you know, he has to move around and go and talk to different people, and, you know, my job is to make sure that I'm fully involved in the game. So, yeah, I mean, we wish the crowd was a little bit better, but the crowd that was there was into it, for sure. And I think they'll come. You know, people are a little hesitant. You know, in this era, people don't know the guys like they knew us. I mean, there were our guys who were there 3 or 4 years consistently, and that, you know, is the DNA of our fan base. So this is just a new era. I mean, they're feeling the same thing in, you know, Connecticut and Kansas and, you know, all over the place. People don't stay as long, but that's okay. They've chosen to come here and participate, and we're going to root for them because at the end of the day, they're still Tigers. And, you know, people are going to fall in love if they haven't already with the Tyrese Hunter or, you know, a PJ Haggerty. But, you know, what I thought was Musa. Musa has been a difference maker in the 2 times that he's played this year against Alabama and against last night at Missouri, against Missouri. He just makes a difference, presence, his energy. And Penny said it after the game that he hasn't been to the NCAA tournament in his college career, and this is last year, and he wants to win. And you can tell that his energy and his effect is very infectious. And the way he talks on defense and moves, I think is a great anchor for the team.
You mentioned that with the crowd, and obviously, yeah, there's not the same relationship as you had with guys who have been in the program for 4 years, stuff like that. There's also every single game basically being available on television somewhere or streaming, whatever. People talk about they don't necessarily want to go downtown, all of these things. What are you guys, how much are you battling that, trying to figure out creative ways to draw people to games?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. We have multiple meetings, external meetings that focus on tickets and marketing and things of that nature. And we try a lot of different things. And, you know, we have a few other things that we're going to try. And I think we throw it on the board and see what happens. And, you know, I like our effort. It's our job to put a product on the floor that people can rally behind. And I think we're doing that. They just don't know them. Last night went a long way. That was a big win for us. And we have some, you know, we're at UNLV this weekend. That'll be a tough road game. But, you know, I look forward to seeing how we respond there. And then we have a tough early season schedule, which is designed to get you ready for March. And, you know, I don't know if you guys remember Denny Crum, but they used to call him Denny See You in March Crum because he played early. He played tough schedule early. And, you know, by the time he finished his Metro Conference schedule, they were really tough out in March. And, you know, that's the hope with scheduling the way Penny has, and hopefully we'll be able to see that result in March when it counts.
Yeah, and I don't mind, by the way, the wait-and-see attitude of fans. They want to see what type of product it is before they commit their hard-earned money. I got no problem with that, but I think last night may go a long way because I think the fan base appreciates effort. They appreciate hard work. And that's what they saw last night. Yeah, got out to a slow start. There were even a few boos out there. But they turned it around in that second half. And when you play that hard, I think people love that. We're a blue-collar city, and it was like a blue-collar team watching them go out there and scrap the way they did. Tim Duncan is joining us here on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Okay, so you're close to Penny. You're now part of the school and part of that basketball program. You weren't here for last year, but last year got off to the great start non-conference-wise, some big wins, and then it went kaput. How important, knowing Penny the way you do, is this season for Penny? How is he just chomping at the bit to get back to playing his style, which got away from them last year?
Yeah, he's chomping at the bit, and he said publicly and privately that the city will like this team because they have that kind of mentality that, he has started his career with. And last year, they were mostly an offensive team, and Penny has been, a defensive coach at every level that he's ever coached. So, so he's done it. They've done a good job of recruiting the guys that fit into what he's done before. And so I think people will be happy because you could see that effort. You can see that heart, and that's what his teams have always been known for. And last year, again, was more of an offensive team that, had some great highlights too. But, Penny will tell you that when Caleb Mills got hurt, that was the glue to that team. And, everybody has injuries, and some teams can rally from it, and some teams cannot. And, apparently last year's team didn't. But this year's team has been great. I love the leadership of Tyrese Hunter. If you just watch him in the, in the press conference, how he just, make sure that he and PJ, they're on the same page. Mm-hmm. He knows what to say. He's been around. He's just one of those savvy seniors that you got to have on a team. And, being the point of the attack and with Musa in the back end, I feel really confident with our defense for sure.
Yeah, so it's nice to have that, shot eraser behind you. You could be a lot more aggressive out on the perimeter. If a guy gets by you, you've got that guy behind you.
Yeah, and then the big rotation of Dane, Musa, and Nick, I think they all offer different looks, and you can play different combinations of those, and you can go small, like Penny did at times last night, and go 4 guards, and with one of those bigs, and you can play 2 of those guys together. So it offers us a lot of versatility, and Penny's utilizing it so far. So we'll see what happens the rest of the year. I know they're going to process and go watch film, and, we got to start better. We can't continue to start really, really slowly, but these guys are still fairly new playing together. They've been here since June, which is good, but, they've only suited up like this 3 times. So I know that they'll get better earlier in the game. And then if we can continue to close as well as they do with a close like we have with P.J. Haggerty, who is he's a foul magnet. He's just able to get to the line so well and make free throws when, sometimes you struggle for buckets. And, the thing is, when you make shots, we made 8 for 20 from 3. That's 40%.
Yeah, you'll take that.
When you make shots, it opens everything up. Mm-hmm. And, we look like a different team when the ball goes through the hoop from 3. So if we can consistently make 8 to 10 threes per game, we're going to be a really tough out for sure.
Tim, you mentioned the versatility and different options that Penny has. He doesn't have a real deep team. It's not. He's had deep teams in the past, and he's gotten in trouble sometimes playing too many players. I think it's fine not to have a deep team as long as those players are healthy, knock on wood, and stay healthy. Right. But you did lose, the program did lose one of the bigs yesterday in the Tyreek Smith news. I don't know what you can say about that. Maybe you could talk in generalizations, but, I mean, certainly the team had found out on Saturday, I believe it was, but my gosh, I mean, to have that happen right before the opening game of the season, you don't wish that on your worst enemy, but it's the day and age we live in now with NIL. It's just crazy that came down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is, man. We just have to adjust what our expectations are. And as Penny said last night in the press conference, we wish him well. He'll be friends with some of the guys on the team forever. There's no ill will. It's just, it is an age where it's more close to professional sports than it is to college sports. True. So we'll wish him well. And, I'm a huge Steelers fan. I'm a big Mike Tomlin fan. And Mike Tomlin always says we want volunteers, not hostages. So we want people that want to be here. And I love when he says that. He has some Memphis ties, of course, having coached here. And I'm a huge Steelers fan since I was a kid. We want volunteers, not hostages. So we want people that want to be here. And if he doesn't, we wish him well. And, hopefully does everything that he can in his career to, continue to thrive. But we want people that want to be here. And the people that want to be here, we're going to embrace them. So I'm super excited about that and this team. And, that saga of the team, that saga for this season is over, and let's rally around the young men that we have and, prop them up so we can, go continue to try to be successful and win an American Conference championship.
When you are, as a former player, like when you're there at the game, obviously, again, you're there, you're an administrator, but is it hard to watch the game and not like watch it from the player perspective? Or like, how is it for you watching a game or being there, especially at your alma mater now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm a huge fan. I'm a fan of college athletics. Obviously, I'm a fan of basketball. You know, I'm rooting, yelling loud at women's soccer or softball as I am for, basketball. But, having played there and worn those, that uniform is definitely much more personal to me. And, I get into it. I'm excited. I yell at the refs. I encourage our guys. Fortunately for me, I have a seat close enough to the bench. I'm not an administrator that likes to sit at the scorer's table because I need to be vocal and yell and support my team. So that's the type of fan I am. I'm excited about the team. I want to be supportive, and, I'm dapping guys when they come off. I'm, talking to Dwight Boyd during the games. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be talking to me back, but we're talking about stuff during the games. So, I mean, I'm just like you guys and most of the folks in the city. I just have a closer view, and I get a chance to work with Penny and the rest of our coaches and student athletes on a daily basis. So for me, this is fun. I love it. I get a chance to, what most people do for pastime, that's called work for me. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of stuff in the day that, isn't as fun as that. But I love my job. I love this city, and I love this program. So for me, it doesn't feel like work when I'm at a game. I just feel like just being a fan that I get a chance to let my hair down and, go crazy.
Well, hopefully you'll get the frequent flyer mileage that goes along with all these trips coming up. Out to UNLV this weekend, San Francisco, out to Hawaii. Big, challenging non-conference schedule as Penny always puts together. But Memphis off to a terrific start after winning last night 83-75. He's the Senior Deputy Athletics Director and former Memphis Tiger, Tim Duncan, who you can follow on Twitter at TimDuncanAD. Thank you so much, Tim. Safe travels to Vegas. We'll talk to you soon.
Greg and Eli, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you guys, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to y'all this morning. Go Tigers, go.
Absolutely. Take care. Good stuff from Tim Duncan. Just a great guy. James Gaddis Jewelers, your family's jeweler, 4900 Poplar Avenue between Mendenhall and St. Nick. On the web at GaddisJewelers.com. They are the second-hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings. They have the biggest selection of engagement rings in the Mid-South, the best prices on GIA-certified diamonds to fit any budget. There'll be a lot of folks that'll be popping the question over the holidays. You want to make sure you have the right engagement ring. You also want to make sure you have a jeweler that knows the business. Well, James has all the credentials. He's a master jeweler, certified appraiser, a diamondologist. He's graded by the Gemologist Institute of America. This is a family-owned and operated business that have been around for over 60 years and nearly 40 years alone on Poplar Avenue, right there in the heart of East Memphis. Our jewelry specialists are here to help navigate the scary waters of buying a diamond and taking that leap hand in hand. Holidays, gifts, giving season almost here. It's always good to check out some of the fine jewelry that's available for a beautiful gift this Christmas, Hanukkah. Again, you may not be getting engaged, you may not be getting married, but you want to get something beautiful for a loved one. Jewelry makes sense, whether it's a watch, a bracelet, gemstones of all types, necklaces, pendants. They have it all for you at James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar between Mendenhall and St. Nick, and on the web at GaddisJewelers.com. The Chiefs remain unbeaten in the National Football League. We'll talk about that when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Mayweather Boxing and Fitness offers a high-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rowers, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, 901-673-1267.
If you need
glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Highland Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Isn't it a lovely morning?
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:45 the time. Final segment here in hour number 2. Hour 3, we're wide open. We'll take your calls and texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. We'll get to a number of topics, including Memphis Tigers football after Ryan Silverfield spoke yesterday. I know there was a lot of reaction yesterday in our Monday morning quarterback session after the Tigers lost to UTSA. We'll revisit the Grizzlies and the Tigers basketball teams as well. Last night, though, in the NFL, Monday Night Football, wrapping up week number 9, the Chiefs knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in overtime, 30-24. I believe that was the third overtime game we had in week number 9. But the Chiefs just keep on winning. The only remaining winless team, or undefeated team, at 8-0. Tampa Bay drops to 4-5. Patrick Mahomes, who thought he was seriously hurt during that game, I think it was his ankle, if I'm not mistaken. He had injured it last week. 34 of 44, 291 yards, and 3 touchdowns. There's people talking about, Pat Mahomes is having an off season. Well, maybe the numbers aren't as good as they normally are, but he's Patrick freaking Mahomes. And then Baker Mayfield, very solid at 23 of 31 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Kansas City gets it done. Kareem Hunt with the 6-yard touchdown run in overtime to win it. And you go back to last year now. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl last year. That's 14 straight wins for the Chiefs.
Yeah, interesting there at the end of the game, Todd Bowles taking some criticism for not going for 2 after the touchdown.
Well, what do you think?
Electing for the tie. Here's what I know. Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose at overtime. He just doesn't. Now they always seem to win the coin toss. The Chiefs win the coin toss in overtime, and generally when they do, they go down, they score, and win the game. If I was Bowles, I would have went for 2. I don't think it's the end of the world that you elect for the tie. But yeah, I'm going for 2. The reaction
from Baker Mayfield
on the coin toss told you all you needed to know.
I know.
Like he's like, nah, we just lost. Like his reaction was, well, we just lost. I just lost the game for us. I should have called heads. Apparently, the game's over. I'm not going to. Like you just kind of feel like that's the way it is when Mahomes gets the ball in overtime. They generally just go down the field, score, and win the game. You don't ever get to see the football.
Eli, I have never seen anyone react on a coin toss, let alone react the way he did. He was like waving the white flag. It was over.
He knew.
I am not going to get on Todd Bowles' case, though, for not going for two. I know when Mahomes, he doesn't lose in overtime. I understand that. I just, you hate to do that and give it away with a missed two-pointer. The odds are not in your favor to successfully complete the two-point try. I was fine with him kicking the extra point. Obviously, it didn't work out with the Hunt game winner. It is what it is. But, yeah, I mean, he's going to get criticism. He would have gotten criticism as well if they went for two and came up short. But Kansas City was trailing in this one 24-17 with 4 minutes to play. How about DeAndre Hopkins in his second game after
Tampa Bay was trailing 24-17.
I'm sorry.
Tampa Bay came down and scored the game-tying touchdown and didn't go for two.
No, what I meant to say, in the second half, Tampa Bay was up by a touchdown. They were up, but it was 17-10. So Kansas City came back, tied it, took the lead, and then you're right. The Ryan Miller 1-yard touchdown catch from Baker Mayfield, that tied it. That's when they decided not to go for two. But the DeAndre Hopkins acquisition pays off in 2 touchdown receptions in his second game after coming over from the Titans. You had Kareem Hunt, who's been with the team for, 3 weeks? I mean, Kansas City, these players, Hunt probably available to a lot of teams. I'm not so sure about Hopkins, but maybe. They go out and they get these players. Somebody goes down, they go out and find another player. Rice is done, they get Hopkins. They lose a running back or two. They go out and they get Kareem Hunt. It's just a great organization. Runs so well with player personnel, with moves that are being made to fill voids, fill holes. And that's why they keep winning. They're great from the top to the bottom. From the owner to the towboy.
They're absolutely. And
they like the Bundleruski.
That's why I would have gone for two. But again, I don't think it's the end of the world. But I would much rather take my chances, especially after you just marched down the field on them and you've got their defense out. You've had their defense out there. Like, I'm going for two in the win rather than putting it onto a coin toss, because I would be like Baker Mayfield. If we lose the coin toss, we've lost the game. So we know the coin toss is 50-50. What's the 2-point conversion? I don't know. I'd like to have the game in my hands rather than watch them die the slow death as we watch Patrick Mahomes march them down the field to a touchdown, and we never get a chance to put it into our own hands. But it is what it is. The Todd Bowles explanation that because the field was wet, they decided to go for the tie. I don't even understand that. Like, that's a weird explanation to me. Mm-hmm. Like, you just drove down the field and scored the touchdown on the wet field. Why?
I didn't hear that.
Why can't you get a 2-point conversion on a wet field? I don't. That's a bit strange to me. But yeah, it's the Chiefs. I mean, I think all but 2 games have been 1-possession games. Like, every game continues to be close.
Well, they know how to win close games.
Patrick
They've done
Mahomes
it for years.
Continues to find ways to win them despite whoever's on the field with him. Mm-hmm. He's that good. It's pretty amazing.
Well, you have people talking about the Lions, and they should be, and I love the Lions, and the Ravens, and they should be. I love the Ravens. That addition of Derrick Henry may pay off in a Super Bowl win. But I caution people, let's not forget about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs, and that's 14 straight wins. Other news from around the NFL, Dak Prescott to miss several games because of a hamstring injury. So let the Cooper Rush era begin.
At this point, we're just going for draft picks, so it doesn't matter.
Do you try to see what you got in Trey Lance?
I think they know.
Why'd they acquire him? They didn't find out until they acquired him?
Yeah, I would think so. But they
didn't do their due diligence.
They made a huge mistake. That's what. Chalk it up to another one of the huge mistakes that they have made with this roster.
Do you think they'll get to a Super Bowl while he's alive? Another Super Bowl?
No, they're screwed right now. They're absolutely screwed right now. I mean, with this Dak contract, and they're absolutely screwed. They have no chance to piece this thing together. They're going to be it's only going to get worse as they continue to lose players because of the contracts that they've got out there. And these guys clearly aren't good. Again, this was his all-in season. What? They're horrendous.
No, you're right.
You got the trade deadline today. The Detroit Lions going out and getting Zadarius Smith as they try and add to that defense with the loss of Aiden Hutchinson.
Great pickup. What did it cost them?
They get They gave up a 5th rounder and a 6th rounder. They got Smith and a 7th rounder.
Okay.
They were talking last night about the Chiefs maybe are trying to get apparently Marshawn Lattimore. It's amazing how the Chiefs, if they pull out, I don't know how they will. Like the Chiefs are always able to make these trades and get guys. It's like, well, I don't know how the Chiefs are able to always pull off these trades, and other teams are not able to pull off these trades.
I know. That's what I said. It's just incredible.
I mean, if they get Marshawn Lattimore, my gosh. It's like if they feel they have a need, they just go out and fill it with a trade somewhere. You'd think teams after a while be like, no, we're not trading him to the Chiefs. You guys are already too good.
Did you see, by the way, the comments that former Saints receiver Michael Thomas made about Derek Carr?
Yes.
Did you see the reaction from Derek Carr, who took the high road, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's got to be something deeper. Like there has to be something. Like it's a weird reaction to have to just like one throw that you think led to a guy getting hurt.
Oh, there's no doubt there's something
got to be
deep.
some weird thing in their relationship. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be something there.
But Carr has said that he has reached out to him a number of times over the years to just discuss and talk and shoot the you-know-what, and he's never responded. He's never called him back. He's tried to contact him. Thomas has never tried to contact Derek to talk about whatever's bothering him. I listened to that press conference, and again, I think Carr said all the right things, and then I heard reaction from the panel on ESPN, and I just think Thomas is a strange dude, man. And obviously injuries have hampered his career. He's a really, really good receiver in his prime. But they're almost alluding to the fact that it may not be injuries now keeping him from getting another chance. When we see all these receivers going down in the NFL and he's still available, then maybe it's more.
The quote from Todd Bowles, by the way, we wanted to get into overtime with the wet conditions on the field. We thought we had to go into overtime instead of going for 2. What the hell does that mean?
I don't know. I have no idea.
How do the wet conditions on the field dictate going for 2 or going into overtime?
I don't know. I'm still not going to question because again, the kicker could slip trying to kick the extra point as opposed to the 2. But I'm not going to criticize him like you did. I understand though. Again, the odds are against you converting the 2, but again, the odds are against you beating Kansas City in overtime with Patrick Mahomes. So I could see it both ways. Real quick, baseball note. The St. Louis Cardinals, for all you Cardinals fans out there, will be returning to AutoZone Park for an exhibition game against the Redbirds. That will be happening on March 24th. It's a Monday. It'll be a 6:15 game. It's the 25th anniversary of their first game with the Cardinals and the Redbirds. That goes back a number of years. I think this is the first time, though, since 2019, so pre-COVID. Cardinals, Redbirds on March 24th, 6:15 at AutoZone Park. When we come back, plenty of Tiger football news. We'll get back into the Tiger basketball win from last night. The Grizzlies lost last night in Brooklyn. We'll take your calls and texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 at 98.5 FM.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate. Choate's air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and generators. Right now, we're offering our Choate's Comfort and Safety Special. For a limited time, when you purchase a $99 tune-up, or if Choate's performs a repair, you'll receive a free 1-year standard fan plan membership at $400 value. Keep your home safe, comfortable, and running smoothly all year long with 2 maintenance visits, priority service, and discounts on future repairs. And for our existing loyal fan plan members, we have something special just for you. Enjoy a $1,000 loyalty coupon toward any new generator, tankless water heater, or HVAC system. It's our way of saying thank you for trusting us with your home. Add value, add comfort, and add safety to your home with Choate's. Call us today at 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com. Choate's, let our family serve your family.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code YEAR to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
They're taking care of beerness in Memphis right on the river with Grind City Brewing and all of their great products. Look, this was a dream come true for a father and son duo. And if you have not been to that brewery right on the river, just to the north of downtown, you're really missing something special. And now you can't miss their product. Wherever you go, you see a brand new label. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's distinctive. You'll know Grind City Brewing, and of course you know their products like Poppy's Pills, that great Pilsner, or Tiger Tail, that very creative craft malt liquor. There's the new Thaddeus Amber Lager. That is absolutely a great light beer. There's the India Pale called Godhopper. It's outstanding. And then there's the Belga, the Belgian-style wheat ale. They keep bringing hits at Grind City Brewing.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning, T-Dot's clearing up this wreck on 40 eastbound near Sycamore View Road. Traffic still a little bit heavy on 51 coming in from Millington. Not bad 40 east across Hernando to Soto Bridge. Normally this time of the morning it'd be pretty crowded up through the Midtown area. Actually looks pretty good over here right now on 240 as you work your way northbound up by Lamar. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. And once again, our Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:02 the time. Hour number 3 here on Sports 56 Mornings on this Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seegers. We're broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, the ultimate game room and fall sale going on right now at 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Third hour of the program brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. If you're looking for flooring, carpeting, if you're looking for plantation shutters and blinds and backsplashes, and all that good stuff, they have it for you at Jenkins Floors and More at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. You can call them at 662-469-9350 or just stop by. They're open Monday through Saturday. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock. They sell it wholesale. Skip the middleman, going to save you lots of money in the process, and they will do the job for you and do it in a 2-week turnaround. So give them a call. Let them come to you. They will come to you wherever you are. They'll give you a free estimate, show you different samples of what it will look like, and then again, a 2-week turnaround to get the job done. It's Jenkins Floors and More, a third-hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings. We got a lot to get to in hour number 3, including Tigers football. But first, let's get to the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. You can follow up Dennis at 360-8255. Good morning, Dennis.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, guys.
How are you?
Hey, Greg. I'm pretty good, man. Trey did a good job last night, man. Just ease up on the, one other guys to hit free throws. But he did a pretty good job last night on the broadcast for his first one.
What did he say about the free throws?
He was just like, man, all Missouri got to do is make a couple more free throws. I was like, Trey, let's not do that. But no, I'm just joking, man. But he did a good job. But, yeah, you hit on some good points, man, earlier. And, one of the things, Penny deservedly so gets criticism. But, like you said, man, to go with all this crap, players leaving, no matter if it was Saturday or 2 hours before, that's still a player that you don't have, man.
Mm-hmm.
Got all this NCAA crap. I don't even want to bring it up, but, that stuff kind of hanging around. I mean, and players want money. Players want playing time. I mean, for him to go in and make those adjustments, which he said at halftime, like you asked him, he did it, and they came out with the W, man. And the biggest thing I like about this team, they're fighting. And like the AD said, the deputy AD said, that's the team that Memphians love, man.
Mm-hmm.
The hard-working, blue-collar guys. I'm not going to sit here and say Sweet 16 or Final Four, but I think we're going to surprise some people, man. And the last thing I'd like to say, I think him doing that schedule like you guys brought up, I think it was a great idea because Gonzaga beat the brakes off Baylor, and I think that's because they haven't played anybody, and the almighty UAB lost to the Vermont Catamounts. So you guys have a good day, man.
You too, Dennis. Thank you very much. I agree with all the points that you made there. Yeah, I think it's going to be here to stay, these exhibition games, especially if you can turn the St. Jude event into an annual affair. But that may be a regular season event. We'll see. But at least it's going to be an exhibition. And I think Penny probably learned that these games get you more ready to go right from the get-go than does an exhibition against a Division II school like Lemoyne-Owen or CBU or Lane and things of that nature. It's, again, no disrespect to them, and it helps their programs financially. But as Penny said, he has to worry about him. This is a huge year. It's a huge year for Penny. I'm sure he was embarrassed by a lot of things that happened last year. And then you have some off-season stuff. At the beginning of the off-season, he wasn't talking to anybody. I had the fortune to be out in Vegas with him, so I had a chance to talk to him, go to his birthday event. We talked after the game last night. He had a big old smile on his face. He was very proud of the way his team responded in the second half. As Dennis said, it doesn't mean they're going to the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. It doesn't even mean they're going to the NCAA tournament. But it's a really good start because this may be one of those teams that we don't think too highly of at the start, and they surprise. Because that's the kind of defense that Penny Hardaway wants his teams to play, and they did not play anything close to that last year.
But he mentioned that Gonzaga-Baylor game. Holy moly.
I thought that was a misprint. I saw the score.
I don't know if Gonzaga is just that good or what, but holy cow, 101-63. That is crazy.
Did Scott Drew not recruit this year?
That looks like, for that to be a number 6 versus number 8, that's like a women's score you get when number 6 plays number 8.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that score blew me away. And he brought up also the UAB game. Now, I kind of joking about but the problem is that's bad for Memphis that UAB is losing that game. It's bad for the American. Like, you want UAB to be great in the non-conference because you hope when you play UAB, you can beat them and it actually be a good win. You need every good win you can possibly find in the conference, and UAB losing at home to Vermont, well, that's not a good way to start the year for them to be a good win for you.
I said last week that I believe this is going to be a one-bid league. Unless Memphis really does something special where they can be an at-large, I think it'll take winning the conference championship. And yes, I think that hurts when UAB loses. I still think Memphis is a better team. I understand why UAB was picked by the coaches to win the league. They're defending champions. But Yeah, there's not a lot of room for screw-ups, to be honest with you, because this is not going to be, if it's multiple, it's 2. It's not going to be any more than that.
I mean, USF last night in the first half had a big lead on Florida, and then Florida came back and beat them. It would have been nice to get USF to get a win like that. This conference needs as many good non-conference wins as it can get.
Right.
So that if you don't win the conference or something like that, but again, just so that when you're in conference, maybe you can pick up a decent win. There's just, and if UAB starts losing a bunch of non-conference games, there is certainly not going to be any quality wins to be had within this conference. And they lost that game last night with Lendeborg having a huge game, and they still lost to Vermont.
But having Cisse now against Lendeborg, that's going to be a difference maker. Memphis was hoping it was Jordan Brown last year. It was not. Cisse, and forget about the points. I mean, that's an added luxury. But to be able to play defense against that big guy, that will help Memphis, I think, in the long run against UAB. By the way, some other results from last night. Number 19, Texas, in the Hall of Fame series out in Vegas, lose to Ohio State 80-72. Carolina, who played Memphis in that first exhibition game, they won their game. It wasn't convincing, though, over Elon, 90-76. But Alabama, the second exhibition opponent for Memphis, they beat UNC Asheville 110-54.
It was a rough night last night for the state of Texas because number 19 Texas lost, number 13 Texas A&M lost to UCF, and then number 8 Baylor got beat by 38 by Gonzaga. So the 3 ranked teams that lost last night, all from the state of Texas.
Wow.
So rough go for the Lone Star State last night in the opening night of college basketball.
43-year-old Hunter Dickinson starting out another season for Kansas, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and an assist as Kansas drubs Howard by 30. We mentioned some of the regional teams. Tennessee, a win over Gardner-Webb, 80-64. Ole Miss downed Long Island 90-60, and Mississippi State beat West Georgia 95-60.
Some text here on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-8255, 360-8255. Ron texting says, you win by attacking the paint. Good win for the Tigers. Certainly this team needs to attack the paint, and namely P.J. Haggerty, because he's fantastic. He's great at finishing. He's great at drawing fouls. Good things generally happen when he gets into the paint. And it could be throwing some lobs to guys like Cisse. But, yeah, he is, there are a couple of guys. We saw P.J. Carter knock down threes last night. Obviously, Colby Rogers has that ability, and he was 2 for 5 last night. There are some guys you want that you're fine shooting the threes. But for me, Haggerty, I know he made the 1 3 last night. I'll never need to see that dude shoot a three-pointer. I want to attack the rim every single time.
It was interesting in the second half, Penny had not used P.J. Carter, who hit 2 threes in the first half. Then, I forget which of the 3 players fouled out. He went to Carter, and they designed a play for Carter to get an open 3, and he knocked it down. It was a big 3, so P.J. Carter contributed with that third triple and possibly didn't play as much because of maybe defense. I'm not sure what I'm getting acclimated to these players as everybody else is and what they can and cannot do. But Baraka Okogie, who fouled out, my gosh, you talk about a gnat, a pest. He was all over the place. Real aggressive player. I like his style. But again, it was impressive. And I do want to say this, and we'll get back to the calls and texts here in a second. I want to talk Tigers football as well. This is never about the people who are there. The people that go to Tigers football, the Tigers basketball games, the people that go to the Grizzlies games, because you are there, you spend your hard-earned money, you've decided that's what you want for your entertainment, and they're always into it. Yeah, there was some boos in the first half, but you have the prerogative to do that, right? As long as you're not attacking people and you're not saying personal things or slurs or anything like that. You want to boo, you don't think the team's playing as hard as they should or playing as well as they should, okay. And then it changed, and you guys were on your feet, and you were great. But I don't know what they announced. What they end up announcing?
11,709.
Yeah, it wasn't close. Wasn't close to that. We talked to Tim Duncan a little bit about that. We don't have to go down this road again with how many different reasons there are not to go to these games. I do believe, though, for Memphis fans, they wanted to see at least a game and see what kind of effort this team was going to put out. And so I would think that their next home game on the 15th, again, maybe it matters what happens against UNLV. Who knows? People are fickle. But it's a Friday night. I know it's not a big-time opponent, but it's Ohio from the MAC, that perhaps that crowd will be bigger. They're always going to be enthusiastic, but perhaps it'll be bigger because they like blue collar. They like grit and grind. This is what our city's about. So even though it becomes repetitive, we talk about it all the time, that's what they want to say.
Some more texts here. David's text in. He says, our front court's going to be a problem. Musa played really well. Offensively, still doesn't look like he knows how to play basketball, but I will say his free throw stroke looks so much better. Dane Danger looked like he wasn't even trying.
He was trying.
I will say this. Yeah, Musa, again, it was only, 6 for 10, I think.
6 for 10.
When they were hacking him there, he was basically making 1 out of every 2. The stroke does look better. He's still not going to be a good free throw shooter. Danger, though, did go 2 for 2. His 2 free throws, he did make both of them. That was a good sign because in the exhibition games, he struggled at the free throw line badly, and he's not a very good. Neither one of those guys is a very good free throw shooter historically. So any made free throws you can get out of those 2 would be nice.
Danger's not as tall as some of the bigs that he was going up against. The 7-footer that he was battling, Josh Gray, the South Carolina transfer. So he didn't shoot the ball a lot. He was 2 for 4, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. He had 8 rebounds, though. He had 8 rebounds to go along with 6 points. He had 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers. Yeah, he is not a real fiery guy, so maybe some people can misconstrue that for being lazy. He's not. He's got good moves around the post. I think he's going to have some big games. He's not the guy who's going to score 16, 18 points a game. But there's going to be games when he explodes. This one was a little bit tougher matchup against the big front line. And Mark Mitchell's a big guy as well. And then you throw in the 7-footer Josh Gray.
Raider Corey texts in, so just my opinion, but Penny working with a limited roster is a good thing. It prohibits him from having to feel obligated to play too many guys. And as far as the second half defensive intensity, I mentioned to my wife prior to the run, it was time to turn up the press.
Yes, I do believe that. I think because he is such a nice guy and committed to his players that it sometimes got him in trouble when he had the really deep roster of wanting to play all the guys. I agree with that.
Yeah, they played 8 guys last night, which is more than enough in college basketball. 8 guys is plenty. In the fact when you're playing once every 3 days or so. You don't necessarily need more than 8. Now, obviously, if you have to start injuries and other things, that can become a problem. But yeah, I'm fine with a 7-8 man rotation in college basketball.
All right. I want to talk some Memphis football. First of all, congratulations to linebacker Chandler Martin. He was named one of the 15 semifinalists for the Butkus Award, given to the nation's best linebacker. Martin has 73 tackles, 6 sacks, and 3 fumble recoveries this season. I don't think there's any question he's going to be the American Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Also, Memphis found out yesterday that their game against UAB will be on Saturday. Well, they knew it was Saturday, November 16th, but they found out it would be a 7 o'clock kick from Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, the old battle for the bones. So you have the night game this Friday against Rice, then a week from Saturday, the night game against UAB, and then Thanksgiving evening in New Orleans, the night game against Tulane. So no more day games for Memphis. Wayne is dialed in on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. Hey, Wayne.
Hey, top of the day to you, fellas.
Good morning.
I want to say it's disappointing with Memphis football that we're sitting here, 7-2, and we're not going to obviously make the college football playoffs, but there's still a lot to play for this season. To me, it's important to win out and get this 10-plus win season and go back-to-back. That's never been done in program history, and that's not a small thing. Especially you're a program struggling, you're trying to position yourself for if there's going to be another shake-up and move conference-wise, that you can be the one that's going to be picked to fill out somebody's spot. And, guys, with the renovations to the stadium, my screensaver on my computer is the Liberty Bowl Stadium. And in the 2019 game with SMU, when Sports Center came to town.
Quite the night.
And that place
Or
was
day.
sold out. It's solid blue. And that's what can be. And this what this football team can achieve. Competition-wise, people complain about what we're left with, but in the last 10 years, this program was just 12 years ago when people were talking about dismantling, doing away with. In the last 10 years, playing against teams that are now by hook or crook in some of these Power 4 conferences. Memphis has produced 2 football championships, 3 straight Western Division championships. They were the Big 12 rep and the Group of 5 rep in 2019. So going back-to-back 10-plus win seasons when you're a program trying to keep your name viable out there is an important thing to achieve, even though we won't make the college football playoff. To me, as a Memphis fan, that's the goal that's out there that I want to see this team achieve. And the people that aren't showing up, they're missing there's missing a quality team. I mean, the kids that have shown commitment to this program, like Seth Hennigan and some others that stayed when they could have been bought off, like some folks have been, by the SEC teams. Man, they deserve to have butts out in the stands watching them play. They gave dedication to this program, and I wish this city would give dedication back.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate the phone call, Wayne. Wayne is a diehard Tiger fan, obviously, you could tell, and he's a half-full guy. Certainly, this is a far cry from where they once were, but, I hear the arguments from people. I think some people go way too far. I think it's ludicrous that there's actually people in our field that are calling for him to be fired. Now, getting to the conference championship game was paramount this year, and it's not going to happen. That is extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. They had all their eggs in the basket for this season, and it's not going to come to fruition. But as Wayne said, you finish strong, you can get to 10 for a second straight year. But right now, you wonder if they can get to 10. Rice, UAB, which earlier in the year you looked at as easy dubs. Rice just beat Navy. UAB just put 59 up on Tulsa, the team that beat UTSA. Nothing's a given in college sports. Nothing's a given in sports. But they should take care of business. And then can you win a game against a Tulane team and maybe damage their hopes for the American Conference Championship in New Orleans on Thanksgiving? I know the argument from people that feel that either they need a change or that it's not as strong as just saying it's 10 wins or it's 9 wins, because they'll say it's empty wins, that there's not a lot of wins over big-time opponents, and when they have the chance to break through, they don't. Look, I think they're right there on the precipice. They're on the threshold. People will argue with me about that, but I think it's a little bit out of control when people are looking at this team and wanting to fire a coach. Look, I know the conference isn't great, but I think we're pretty pompous when we think of ourselves as we should be the best team, especially in football. Like Tulane doesn't have NIL, or any of the other schools don't have NIL. And I know what Jeff Traylor said, and Memphis is pretty good with NIL within the conference. Doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be the best team. Yes, it's a huge disappointment this year. And I can understand people blasting the team if they don't get there. And again, it will take a miracle to get there. But you got a coach with 5 years left, 4 about to be 5 on the contract. If he gets the 9, right, it's the automatic rollover. And they want to can a coach and pay out $6 million, $7 million, whatever it is, to make a change, thinking that Memphis is some kind of power. I don't get it. I mean, you're winning at a high rate. This is who you are now. And Wayne made a good point. If you continue to be one of the upper echelon group of 5 schools, maybe if there is more realignment, and probably will be, maybe you'll finally get the call. What you can have happen is it drop down to where you're winning 5 or 6 and you're barely going to a bowl game. People are taking the bowls for granted. Again, one hand, it's a big disappointment. On the other hand, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's weird to assess kind of Ryan Silverfield because I think whichever side you are on, you've got valid points to make arguments. Like you can, again, if they get to 10 wins, it's something that's never been done before with the back-to-back seasons. You could just look at the overall number of wins and that type stuff and say, well, how can you as a Memphis fan possibly be upset with a team that's 7-2? I mean, for a program that, as he said, not that long ago was a laughing stock of college football. And people thought you maybe should get rid of football altogether. And suddenly 7-2 isn't acceptable. You could also look at the other side, and people bring up the record against the winning teams, especially the road record. And there's valid arguments to be made on that side.
There's no question.
And, this year, certainly, again, Saturday's loss, it was just it's inexcusable. It was an inexcusable loss.
I agree.
The team was.
But there's no guarantee you bring somebody else in, they're going to win all these road games and they're going to beat Tulane consistently.
So there's valid things to be made on both sides. I don't know. I don't know where I fall on the whole thing.
But I can tell you this:
you can make an argument that he hasn't done good enough. You can make an argument that he's doing stuff that other coaches that nobody has ever done here. So
he's very polarized.
However you want to look at it and assess Ryan Silverfield, you have valid points to make your argument either direction.
Yeah, and I don't mean personally, but his track record, his resume is very polarizing to Tigers fans. But the diehards, for the most part, like Wayne, they know what's going on. I'm not saying that, again, the other people don't have a valid point. You're absolutely right. But again, I'm still baffled by the argument by some really intelligent people going back to that they should have absolutely accepted the offer from the PAC, which they would have made less money and incurred more expenses. I still don't get that one. And now they're the same people probably that want to fire a coach with 4 years remaining with $6 million or whatever owed out, like they have money coming out of their pockets, while they're trying to also raise the rest of the money for the funding for the refurbishment and renovations at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, money as well for other projects. I don't get it. I mean, just because what FedEx did was great, right? The first initial $50 million has to be matched for the Liberty or the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. And then the $5 million NIL, again, $5 million is great. It puts you probably near the top, if not at the top in the American. But that goes pretty quickly. And let's not make it like it's unlimited amounts of money. So you just don't haphazardly throw around the money like that. For a coach that's winning. He's not winning to the degree they want, and I understand that, but my gosh, now I've been here since 95, so I know what losing is. I understand that. It's a disappointment to lose that game. There's no question about it. But this is one of those topics that's very polarizing. There's no question about it. Let me try to squeeze in before we take our last break a couple of calls. Keith is first. Hi, Keith.
Hey, Greg and Eli. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. All right, I just want to make a couple points if I can.
Sure.
All right, the penalty, you were there, Greg, so I don't need to tell you. But, like, the penalties on false starts, I mean, there's no excuse for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then on fourth downs, I mean, you got a 4th and 1 or something. I mean, that defense was bad inside now. I'm telling you, they had some really bad boys inside. I mean, you don't run off tackle or off guard against that defense.
It was very predictable. Very predictable.
Yeah. Hennigan or Anderson or somebody could have got outside or even throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hennigan had some wide open receivers too that he just missed. I mean, he wasn't having a good game. I saw him rub his shoulder a time or two on TV, like he was, maybe he did get a little injured, but he wasn't like where he's usually just spot on all of his passes.
Yeah, I mean, no argument, Keith. I appreciate it, my friend. Thanks for the phone call. Let me go to Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne.
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm gonna say this real quick. I've been watching Tiger football 100 years. I go back to Dennis Sparkman. I know some of you guys don't know who that is. That's how far I go back. I've been in that stadium. There's 8,000 people and it's raining, and there's 500 people there and it's raining. And this program, it did look like they wanted to shut the doors up. But you're talking going back 25 years. Ain't nobody wanted to shut the doors on this program in a long time. But the problem is when you got used to two coaches who came here and absolutely changed the culture, absolutely showed you, hey, we want to be dominant. This is who we are, won the conference. You can't go back to teams playing teams we can't beat within our own damn conference.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these teams, to be honest with you, are not that good. Mm-hmm. They're not. But I don't like an offensive guy to come in to be the head coach and brag on their team as if they're world beaters. If you can't get 6 inches, and you don't know how to attack the team to get 6 inches, then you might not be the right guy for the job. These 4th down plays were ridiculous. The penalties were ridiculous. You can't keep losing to teams you should be beating. You're going to have one slip-up, maybe. But this team has 2, 3, 4 every year. And it's not the players. It's a mindset where if you guys follow me, I'll get you there. But when we get to that critical point, he don't know how to get them through it.
But let me ask you, Dwayne, the teams that they're losing to, which, again, they should probably beat, but Tulane, UTSA, I know their record indicates they're not having a great year, but they're still pretty formidable. That's who they're losing to. They're not losing to UAB. They're not losing to those teams.
Let me say this.
They're losing to the team that lost to Tulsa.
UTSA had 19 players they started the season with that wasn't on that roster. 19. So that tells me they're dealing with a bunch of third-string guys and a bunch of second, third, and fourth-string players.
How many times have they lost at home in the last 3 years? What, 3 times?
I get that. I understand. I think they lost twice with the last 3 years. But this is my point. When you play a team that's down, you have to play them like they down. You can't go in there and say, hey, man, I just hope you can get out here with a win.
I agree with that.
And that's the problem I have with Silverfield. He just want to get out with a win. No, you got to go in and say, look, we're going to beat this team. This is how we're going to do it. You got to have a plan. I mean, you can put players on the field. You can draw it up. But if you don't have a clear direction, players look around and they say, man, no. Nope.
I agree with you, Dwayne, but let me ask you this. What's the bottom line?
Yeah.
What would you do? You got a
the
coach that has 4
this.
more years on a contract.
This is the bottom line. If I'm an AD and I know I'm looking for another job, I don't have the authority to give him a contract. That was the problem in the beginning. We knew the AD was looking for another job. They should have tied his hands and said, look, can't allow you to do contract right now. We don't know if you're going to be here. And you stuck up to him and you left. That is a problem. But that goes higher up top. He should have been told, look, man, are you going to be here? If you're not, we're not going to let you have no deals. We're going to leave it to somebody else. I mean, what's the difference in 6 months? Nothing changes. The guy could have been here. If the new regime wanted to give him a deal, fine. But he should not have been given the deal knowing the AD was going to leave.
Yeah, and you're talking about the Laird Beach contract extension with Coach Silverfield.
That's the whole problem. And now, like you say, we always get that point where we're stuck. I'm tired of being stuck.
I hear you, Dwayne.
Tired of it.
Great stuff, man. Appreciate the phone call.
All right, man.
Thanks for listening. Yeah, you're kind of stuck. I mean, if you are in the boat that Dwayne is, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And again, you got a contract that's in perpetuity. 9 wins. It's an extension of a year.
I will argue with him. He said it's going back 25 years that people wanted to shut down his program. No, it wasn't. 120. Larry Porter years, people thought they should get rid of football.
It was a decade ago.
People said Memphis. There were serious people out there saying maybe Memphis should just get rid of football, shut that program down. It wasn't 25 years ago. It was 10 to 12 years ago.
But could you imagine being? And look, Ed Scott's his own man. He's great. I mean, he's going to make those decisions that are going to benefit the school, and he ain't going to have a problem with anybody saying anything. I love the guy. I mean, he's fantastic. I've had the pleasure to be able to talk to him in person. 10 times already. But it would be very weird for a AD to fire a head coach if he goes 19 wins over 2 years or 20 wins over 2 years. And then you go, what's the rationale? Well, I didn't think he was winning the really big games, but he won a ton, and we owe him still all these millions, and so I fired him. I mean, does that make a lot of sense on the surface? I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I think we got to be a little bit diligent with everything that comes into play rather than just go off the handle and say, the guy should be canned and bring in another coach. So pay that money, then pay the money for a coach, and who you bringing in. I've heard some interesting names that you're going to have to pay a lot of money. Doesn't mean that those coaches get them over the hump. But yes, I agree. This year's team should be in the conference championship. But every year, this football program should not be in the championship. Now, you want to argue basketball, that's different. But I would argue football. I still think UTSA is a good program. I still think Tulane's a really good program. I think there's a couple on the rise. There's a lot of bad programs in the conference. Memphis should be in the mix, but I think saying they should be in the championship game every year, that's ridiculous. All right, we'll take a break. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Energy full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rowers, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, 901-673-1267.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-357-6499. 800-357-6499. 800-357-6499.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Getaway Sports Bar, best kept secret in town. Open noon to 1:30 a.m. 7 days a week. Garden created this SEC NFL Dream Bar over 20 years ago. You'll never miss a minute of action. 10 TVs, 5 70-inch TVs for all the big games. Pick them up on 6 pool tables. Closest here in town. Cool Stick and get you some more bar chicken tenders. Daily happy hour Monday through Friday, 1 to 6 p.m. on Megan Business 25 Getaway Sports Bar, 4632 Winchester.
Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by James Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
More text here on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. Raider Corey says, I agree with most of that, but as a fan, going to the Birmingham Bowl is getting old, just truthfully speaking. Yeah, again, that's the great thing now, is that going to bowl games is getting old for this program. That just going to bowl game is not good enough. That's great. It's great that the program is in that situation now, because again, that you go back to that New Orleans Bowl, the first one, like the city lost its mind because the Tigers were finally going to a bowl game, and now it's like, yeah, no, that's who cares about bowl games. Like it's awesome that the program has been elevated to that level, and I understand that point. Like, yeah, just what is it? Is this 12 straight, 11 straight years or whatever?
11,
going to the bowl games, that it is getting old, and you want more than that. And yes, and you hope that you're able to get there, and this was supposed to be the year that you got there, and it's not going to be that year. It's going to end up in one of those bowl games once again.
Yeah, I would think for most schools in the same boat as Memphis, maybe not as long a streak, because the teams that have those type of streaks are flirting with the playoffs or will be in the playoffs or have been in the 4-team playoff. I would think that the fan base is, tired of just a regular bowl game. And you have the same setup with the American Conference. So Memphis knows that they're going to go either to the Cure Bowl in Orlando, which is not bad, the Military Bowl. They were already in Annapolis this year. Maybe Fenway in the middle of or late December in Boston. I think it would be kind of cool, personally, playing at Fenway Park, but in the winter where there could be a foot of snow. But I can understand the fans' dilemma. Yeah, I don't think across the board, I think attendance at bowls has to be down unless it's a bowl game that's associated with a playoff.
And the thing is, too, that's the thing. Like, it tells you, again, the great thing about where this program, the idea of anybody even bringing up the idea of a coach being fired at Memphis when he's been to a bowl game every single year he's been there is like, on the surface, that's crazy to think about the Memphis program. But again, that's where this program is now, which is a good thing. Now it's just, can you get – the question becomes, is Ryan Silverfield the guy to take it to the next level? And you could, certainly make the argument that he's not, based on what has happened so far. Somebody else texted in and say, what big game has Silverfield won? Again, that's the problem. Won a lot of games that he's supposed to win. He hasn't got those big wins that kind of get you over the top, get you to that conference championship game.
Excite the fan base.
And then when you, beyond that, then you start having stumbles like this past week against a UTSA team who, again, lost the previous week to Tulsa and is without a whole bunch of players. You don't have the counter argument, the big wins on the other side to argue against those stumbles. And that's, again, when you're talking about the people, there's plenty of things to be said on total number of wins and everything else in favor of Ryan. The thing that he lacks is those big wins where you can say, yeah, he stumbled against UTSA, but they had this win or that win and that win. And those wins aren't there. That's the problem for him.
Yeah, and even though financially it's a hit, I mean, this isn't Alabama's money. This isn't Notre Dame's money. So it's a hit anytime you get rid of a coach who is owed money. But if they were 6-6 every single year, maybe throwing a 7-win season one time, it makes it easier for a new AD to come in and say, look, we're better than that. We got to make a change. And I'm not saying, again, that the Ed is not afraid to do anything if he thinks it's going to benefit this university. But it's a little bit tougher, I would think, when your program's winning 10 games, winning over a Big 12 school in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl game. I guess that's a pretty good win, right? But people are going to make excuses. It's a bowl game. It doesn't matter anymore. So that was a good win, and it was 10 wins. And then you turn around, if you win 9, okay, you drop a little bit, but you still win 9. It's tough to come in and go, well, let's see, I'm gonna swallow $6 or $7 million, bring in a new coach, pay that coach after winning 19, 20 games in 2 years. It'd be tougher for me as an AD to do that. Because you got all these fans crying about, well, where's the big win? Where's the this? Where's the that? How many of you show up for games? How many? The ones that show up are more the Waynes. And Dwayne, I mean, obviously he was the other side of it, and Dwayne's been a big fan for a long, long time. And I can understand that there are fans that are diehards that are not extremely happy. You shouldn't be happy with this year. You shouldn't. Even if they win 9 games. But is it a fireable offense? That's would be a tough call if I was the AD to go, yeah, I just fired a coach with 9 or 10 wins.
He's not getting fired.
Right.
He's not getting fired after this year.
I'm saying there's journalists out here. There's media people that are calling for his head. There are, fans, obviously, one thing. But there's people that I respect that are intelligent. I'm like, again, you're going to eat that money for a guy. He didn't win 4 games. for goodness sakes. I mean, I got a problem with the coach at Maryland. They won't fire him. Got to look at his win-loss record, right? Isn't the bottom line wins and losses? You can only play who's in front of you. I mean, Florida State, Memphis beat. Was it their fault that they went completely kaput this year? By the way, coached by a former Tiger coach. Was it their fault? He gets no respect for beating Iowa State, a Big 12 team who had one player opt out, a defensive back. They beat him down pretty handily. It's just the criticism. I can understand some criticism.
I will say this: I don't care about the bowl win. No, I don't.
Okay, but if we're,
But that would be for any coach winning a bowl. I wouldn't be counting my bowl wins as big wins unless it's a playoff.
Is it a bad thing? I mean, it's not a good thing for Memphis fans, but is it that much? Is it off base to go? Guess what? Tulane's just a better football program than Memphis. Why can't they be?
But
is there a rule that says Memphis has to be the best?
No, but that's the problem. That people would say, like, well, there's no rule saying we can't be better than them, and we strive to be better than Tulane. That shouldn't be too much to ask.
Again, I know why do they go to play in New Orleans as opposed to come to Memphis and play? Well, Memphis got some good players, so I don't know. I mean, you can argue both sides, no question about it. You can argue both sides. Let me go to Mike on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. Mike, how are you?
Hey, you're making a mistake on who makes the decision as the coach does. That's the people with the money.
In the end, if they want to get rid of him, somebody's going to have to pay for it.
They tell the athletic director. It's kind of like the old story of Ole Miss when Billy Kennard, the money guys met with the athletic director and said, we want Kennard gone, and here's the money, and then here's the money to fire you if you don't do it.
Yeah, there's no question about that, Mike. No question about that.
Yes, if somebody, if there's somebody out there willing to pay for him to be gone, he'll be gone.
With Ryan is, it's 4th and a half a yard, and they run the same play.
I know. We've been talking about it ad nauseum for 2 days. I'm the sideline reporter, and I agree.
I don't know if that's him or the
OC.
OC. I mean, I really don't know. I know we got a good running back, but. It's one other thing. Seth is pretty immobile, so they're not worried about him running. And number two is we don't have another quarterback that he's played in to get any experience.
Yeah, next year's going to be interesting. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Look, he is immobile, yet he's going to go down as possibly the all-time leading passer in the history of the American Conference. So he's been okay. He's been pretty good. For some reason, people don't want to like him. Okay, yeah, he made some bad passes on Saturday. He also made some good passes. He's a quarterback. They don't all make great passes. I think he's been pretty darn good for 4 years. Next year's going to be interesting, as Mike said.
But again, you could also say that's the point. You've had this really good quarterback for 4 years, and what did you get out of it? 0 conference championship
absolutely.
games.
Like I said, you can make the argument on both sides. But usually it comes down to, and Mike made a great point about the deep-pocketed boosters. They're the ones that really make decisions at the college level. Are you willing to eat money to take a chance to bring somebody else in that could have more success? And the more success we're talking about is getting to the conference championship, winning conference championships, and maybe ultimately getting to the playoff.
Need a tough, reliable tractor to tackle those tough chores? Go see the folks at Mid-South Ag Equipment. They've got the Case IH Farm All series of tractors, bush hog equipment, so much more, from new equipment to used equipment, service on your current equipment, whatever it is that you need done. Folks at Mid-South Ag Equipment will take care of you and your equipment. Located just south of Collierville on Goodman Road. If you take I-269 to that Goodman Road exit, they're just a half mile west. You can also find them online, midsouthag.com. On the website, you can check out inventory, check out special deals, everything you need to know about what's going on with the folks at Mid-South Ag Equipment. Again, just south of Collierville on Goodman Road, Mid-South Ag Equipment.
All right, we'll wrap it up with more of your calls and texts in our final segment when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa setting. It's happening right now save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure. Whitten Road at I-40. Family and fun come together.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, and great news. Good news. A letter in your mailbox says you could save money bundling your home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. You saw it after your teenager backed the car into the mailbox. Dumb news. A new mailbox, basically a box on a stick, costs up to $400. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and go with paperless mail instead. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:50. Speaking of Tigers football, Coach Ryan Silverfield, he's going to join us tomorrow at 8:05. Usually joins us on Thursday, but with the game being Friday night, he'll join us at 8:05. We'll have the Tiger football report at 7:45, breaking down the Tigers and Rice. Jerry Palm, 8:25. We'll talk Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole at 9:05. And then Tigers basketball with Parth Upajai at 9:25. Elvis has entered the building. Elvis, how are you?
Hey, Greg, let me ask you and Eli something. How long have y'all been doing talk radio?
Our show's been on for just about 20 years, but I've been doing it off and on for decades.
So y'all would probably know the answer to this question. Excluding former players, what Tiger fan is going to call your show in and know more about football than Ryan Silverfield?
Hopefully nobody.
But they want to be the ones to say he's got to go or he ain't doing right or he didn't call this right play. If it's a money guy, if it's a big booster, that's a different story. I'm going to shut up at that point. But Ryan Silverfield, what's his record? He's got a hell of a record.
Mm-hmm.
So what's
40 and
the
20, I
problem?
believe now, or 39 and 20.
Hey, let me just end with this, Greg, and I'm sure both of y'all know this. Paul William Bryant had some lean years. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Elvis. Appreciate it.
It's part of being a fan, though. Part of being a fan is...
Look, everybody's entitled to an opinion. Everybody's going to... Well, not everybody wants to express that opinion, so we have no problem. I mean, that's the way it is. Nobody's saying that they're smarter than a coach or, is going to... Their opinion's going to be more important than the AD's. But, yeah, look, I understand. I understand both people who are arguing that there's not enough wins against big teams and, some of those wins are hollow and this and that, and they got to get to the championship game. And then I also understand, you can't poo-poo 9 wins or 10 wins and bowl games every single year. That's what it is. Now we have a 12-team playoff, which is fantastic. And the group of 5 is going to be included. That's fantastic as well. With each addition to that playoff, in my opinion, the more there is, and we'll eventually get to 16. Who knows? Maybe one day down the road, a long time from now, there'll be 32. It diminishes the bowl games. The bowl games have been on a decline for a long time. The big-time bowl games will be involved in the playoffs. They were involved in the championship. That's a different story. But these other bowl games, they're certainly diminishing in the sense that, the fandom Although you still have good crowds for the AutoZone Liberty Bowl game here in Memphis. You still have support for the community, right? And the players, for the most part, they want to go. But there's players now that want to opt out. Those players that have a chance to play at the next level. If they're not in a playoff and they're in just a regular bowl game, you could have a barrage of players. We talked about Ole Miss earlier. They don't make the playoff. Who knows how many will want to play in that bowl game? But how are the NIL deals set up with bowl games and things of that nature? I mean, this is the world we live in.
So Elvis's point, I think, although I question it more and more every day, I think Jerry Jones knows more football than I do. However, I will complain about a lot of things Jerry Jones does. For instance, the Cowboys today have traded for Jonathan Mingo, and they gave up a 4th-round pick for Mingo and a 7th-round pick. So they gave up more to the Panthers to get Jonathan Mingo than what Baltimore gave up to get Deontay Johnson. What?
It's your Cowboys, man.
What?
You know the answer.
A 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo? Loved him when he was at Ole Miss, but goodness gracious. He's got 12 catches on the year. He's had 4 targets since week 6. They give up a 4th-rounder. Baltimore gave up a 5th-rounder to get Deontay Johnson, who's actually done stuff in the NFL. Is good.
We need to strip them of America's team, that moniker. We just have to strip them. It's annoying.
Oh.
It's annoying.
Speaking of this, one other thing I want to say here. Last night, Jason Kelsey's apology on Monday Night Football for the incident that he had at Penn State over the weekend.
What did he say? You can't bring out hate? Wait, you can't fight hate with hate or something?
The fact that there are actually people in this world that thought he needed to apologize is incredible to me. The fact that he apologized, I hate it. If he would have used the term that the punk little kid looking for a viral video used to him, he would have been canceled.
He would have been done. Yeah.
So when the punk kid uses the term to try and get said viral video, I have no problem with how you respond. I don't have a problem if he would have, which he could have, killed the kid with one punch probably. It drives me crazy that this is the world we live in. Every one of these kids is out there hoping for their little viral video moment.
Yes.
And so they think they can do whatever they want to try and provoke a celebrity in order to get said viral video moment. And then when the celebrity has a response like this, and again, all he did was break a phone. He could have broke a face. He broke a phone. We believe that guy needs to apologize for the incident. That's absolutely ridiculous that he would apologize at all. I wish he would have came on TV and said, you know what? If the kid comes up to me right now and does it again, I'll do the same thing again. I don't care. I'm not going to listen to some punk kid use those terms and talk about my brother like that. I don't care. He's lucky I didn't do more to him rather than his phone.
Here. 100%. I'm so old school, I couldn't give a crap if I got canceled. I would have knocked that guy's block off. There ain't no question about it. No question. Clay, unfortunately, we're out of time. We got to wrap things up, so we couldn't get to a couple of calls and texts, but we really appreciate it. Call in tomorrow. We do this again at 7 o'clock to 10. We do it Monday through Friday. If you want to chime in anytime on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. I want to thank Connor O'Gara, David Johnson, and Tim Duncan for joining us on the program again tomorrow. Ryan Silverfield in the Tiger Football Report, Jerry Palm, DeMichael Cole, and Parth Upadhyay. Well Done Friends on Sports 56 is coming up next, so stay tuned for that. For Eli Savoy and for Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday is happy hour from 3 to 6 with $1 off all draft beer.